Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradburn. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and we have got a fun show today. We're going to talk some NBA. We're going to update our NFL contender rankings, and we got to touch on both sports because, as we mentioned last show, unfortunately, we are not going to have a Friday show this week. It's just not going to be possible with family obligations, but we will be back Sunday night talking football, and today we're going to touch on both. We'll start with basketball. And I want to start by looking at this rookie class, Logan, which has given us a lot of interesting players, a lot of impressive starts to the season. So considering all of that, if the season were to end today, who would be your rookie of the year?
I mean, I think the rookie of the year right now would have to be Kon Knueppel with what he's been doing recently in the absence of LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Like, it is remarkable stuff. And before I get into Kon, I do agree with you, Carson. I think, this rookie class has just been so much more interesting than, last year. Last year really felt so, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to give a big picture take in the middle of it when you're stuck. But wow, it just feels different, man. There are so many more rookies to just be excited about this season and that are actually putting up big numbers and balling out. The depth of this class has been so interesting to me and so encouraging about just the overall quality of this class. But what Kon is doing cannot be overstated. He's giving you 19.6 boards and 3 assists on 49% from the field, 44% from deep, and most remarkably, 65.4% true shooting. That is a huge number, not only because it's just great, but it is the most efficient 15-point-per-game rookie scoring season ever in the history of basketball. When I was looking at that stat, I was like, since 2000, we'll cut that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. That's a great poll. Then I went to the merger, and I was like, okay, it's still Kon. And then you push it back. It is the most efficient mark ever.
To be fair, of course, it does obviously get easier to set records like that as league-wide efficiency gets higher, which just has continued to happen. So I imagine there has been a more efficient relative true shooting campaign from a rookie, although I don't know that. I haven't looked it up.
But still, I mean, it's actually crazy. Not only is it the most efficient rookie scoring season ever for a 15-point-per-game rookie, but it's also the number 11 overall rookie scoring season since 2000. He's giving you some high-quality volume there, too. And I think we both agreed that Kon was one of our most pro-ready prospects, and I think he is really just proving that. If you had pinned me down and made me pick – I mean, I know that's your fantasy, but you can do that anytime, Carson.
Say
you have
what?
full permission, man. Yeah. If you had to pin me down during the draft process and ask me who was, one, the most pro-ready, but also the guy that I was most confident in being ready to contribute and just be like a solid player for a long time, I would have said it was Kon. And I think he's further reinforcing that, but I think he's just an even better offensive player than even I gave him credit for in the pre-draft process. Yeah. He has got tremendous instincts. I think Carson moving without the basketball, that's been a hallmark of his. He's a great shooter off movement, off the dribble, off the catch. And my favorite quality about Kon is the fact that he is always ready to shoot. And because he is always ready to shoot, the defense has to be in a constant flux of worrying about him just letting one loose because he's got such a quick release. He's got some real playmaking and ball handling chops too. The other thing that I really love about Kon, though, is his shot selection. I never feel like Kon is taking a shot that feels forced or out of the flow of the offense. And it's also what shots he's taking. You look at his 6 most common shot types, Carson. It is every area around the arc. That is shots 2 through 6 that he favors the most. Every zone around the 3-point line. And his most favorite shot is inside the restricted area. So, he is just taking the 2 most efficient shots in basketball. He's just a great offensive player, man. And I think he is so malleable and would fit into so many offensive systems. I think his numbers, volume, are a little bit inflated, obviously, because he doesn't have a LaMelo Ball or Brandon Miller because he's forced to take on this kind of extra load. But I think if those guys were healthy, he would be doing this just as efficiently because he fits so well in. I'm blown away, Carson. I thought Kon was going to come in and give us 13, 14, 15 maybe, really efficiently, at 60% true shooting. I thought that was reasonable, but what he's giving you is just insane. I think he has looked like the best offensive player in this draft class to start the season. There's some really good competition, I think, with guys like Edgecombe, Dylan Harper, Jeremiah Fears, Cedric Coward even. I think we've seen some really good performances from some offensive rookies, but I think Kon's been the best, and he would be my pick to win the award right now.
He's a clear choice, and like you said, I liked Kon. I thought he was one of the highest floor players in this class, but I didn't like him enough, and I underestimated the ceiling here. Like, I thought that immediately, right, this is an elite shooter, and that was going to translate, and I liked his craft playing off of 2 feet and his IQ and ability to leverage his crazy shooting threat into being, like, a pretty good intermediate scorer and solid driver with that craft again, and a really solid passer, and these are all things that I thought are going to translate to any NBA offense. He'll be an effective plug-and-play guy anywhere, and he's going to have a long, good career because of that. But I think I underestimated just how insane a shooting weapon he is, even knowing that was always going to be his greatest strength, right? We talked about this guy is clearly a top 2 shooting prospect in this class. It was him and Trey Johnson. Accuracy was never a question. But what is so impressive about Kon is how much he does not look like the Joe Harris type of elite shooter. And that is not to knock on Joe Harris, who had years where he was literally shooting 47, 48% from threes. But what I mean by that is elite accuracy, but somebody who has limitations in terms of the volume of threes that they can put up, obviously because zero juice is a ball handler, but also not being a crazy movement shooter who can make these shots with a crazy variety of footwork against contests, different angles, all this stuff. Kon Knueppel, and I understand how this is going to sound, but he is closer to a Klay Thompson kind of shooting weapon than he is a Joe Harris kind of shooting weapon. Like, this is already a top 5 shooter in the sport and a top 5 shooting weapon in the sport for sure, because he's also top 5 at knowing how to use his shooting threat. Like, he's an insane movement shooter, and one of my favorite things that we've seen from him early in this year is his willingness to screen for other guards a ton. This is something that obviously both of the Warriors guards embrace, and it just consistently puts defenses in a bind when you have that sort of gravity as a shooter, and if they don't follow you and you get open, quick trigger, you're absolutely lethal there. Kon is exceptional in the fact that, like, he also even has good feel as a roll man. Like, he can short roll, get to floater range, and his touch in that area is so good. He's 15 of 24 in the paint outside the restricted area right now. It's over 62%. So that 2-point scoring is another dimension that a lot of these 3-point shooting great talents don't have.
I just don't think Kon belongs in that archetype whatsoever. I just think he's way better and way more versatile than any guy that you could, like, pigeonhole. And, like, don't get me wrong, that is his A1 trait, and that is why people would try to put him in that box. But, like, I just think the guy has way more playmaking juice. I think he's an actual, like, solid positional rebounder. Like, I just think he has way more to his game than just being a spot-up guy.
100%. And, like, that is totally obvious. But again, the 3-point shooting is his first great weapon. It is his A+ trait, but it's not just the accuracy. It is doing it off movement. I mean, the extent to which Kon Knueppel is currently blowing out of the water every previous 3-point mark set by a rookie, dude. The record coming into this year for most 3-pointers made per game was Keegan Murray with 2.6. Kon is currently making 3.7. I mean, that's 40-something% higher in terms of volume than anybody else has ever done. Like, it is crazy to be able to get up 8.5 threes a game as a rookie, and he's making 44% of them.
That's just crazy. That's almost 12 baked-in points every game.
It's just phenomenal. And then, like we've been saying, he is so good at understanding how to leverage that threat. I mean, playing out of handoffs, right? It's not like he just has to pull the three. He has the craft as a driver. He's just got such a good feel for space, where he should be, and he's got the intermediate shot-making chops, and he's got nice change in pace, and he's got the frame to play through physicality decently well as a driver. Same thing goes, like, when he's coming off of off-ball screens. I mean, if you overplay the threat of the 3-point shot, he can punish you for that. But obviously, if you give him a sliver of space, he's absolutely phenomenal there. I just think, like, this is an offensive star. This is not a good offensive player. This is an offensive star, and in an archetype that I love and I value so much, because he fits anywhere. He makes any situation better. When you can shoot like this on the move and you do move like this off ball, the stress that you put on a defense without having to have the ball in your hands is so substantial and makes life better for everybody around you. And then the kicker with Kon is that he actually can make plays with the ball in his hands, right? As a secondary ball handler, he's never going to be a guy running 12 pick and rolls a game for you, but he can run a few, and he's a good decision maker, and he's a good passer. He's a really nice lob passer. I've just been blown away by the guy. And like you said, he's a really solid positional rebounder. He is a decent defender. He's got a solid frame in terms of strength and moves his feet solidly well and is smart. He's got his obviously athletic limitations there that keep him from being a guy who I think will ever be a real plus there. Also, but he holds his own decently well.
I don't know. I was just going to bring this up briefly because I don't think it's something that we've touched on at this show at all. Do you want to talk at all about this LaMelo drama or any of that kind of extra wasp's nest in Charlotte?
Wasp's nest when they're the Hornets.
I wasn't even.
Maybe we could.
That wasn't intention. That's my fault.
Just gone for the Hornets.
Hornets nest. My fault. I'm more afraid of a wasp's nest, to be honest.
The thing is, I think LaMelo has very little value league-wide. I think
so, too.
He and Ja are the two star guards who there's the rumors about them potentially being moved, and I think for different reasons, both of their value is pretty much in the gutter. I mean, Ja, obviously, there is the off-the-court personality stuff, and then there's also just his basketball product just consistently deteriorating. With LaMelo, I mean, I do think there are still some questions about, okay, how does he scale to a serious situation, right? Can he improve the efficiency in the shot selection and cut down on the turnovers a bit and be decent defensively, right? Those are questions, but I think the biggest thing is just availability. Is this guy somebody we can ever count on to be on the court when it was 36 games played in 23, 22 in 24, 47 last year, and now he's missed half their games to start this season. It's just not somebody I would invest a lot into, especially considering there's a huge contract on top of that.
I agree fundamentally. That's why I don't really understand this situation, Carson. I don't really get why people are shaping this narrative that, the Hornets have failed LaMelo or something like that when, it sounds like LaMelo's chief complaint with the Hornets is that they have failed to put a competent basketball roster around him or a competitor around LaMelo. My fundamental issue is LaMelo's never been on the floor to even play to see if the team could do something like that's kind of I just don't understand why LaMelo is upset with the Hornets when if I was the Hornets, I would be upset with LaMelo. I look at this completely inversely where I don't know. I just don't understand his frustrations. I don't think the Hornets have done anything wrong. I think it takes time to build up a roster around him. I think this is the best roster they've ever potentially put around LaMelo. I think they crushed this draft last year, getting guys like Kon and Kalkbrenner and Zion James. I think they've done a really good job. I just don't understand it, and I'm having a really hard time wrapping my head around why LaMelo is angry at Charlotte. But I agree with you fundamentally with where he sits as an asset in relation to other teams.
Well, I do think there were a couple of first-round picks that they did whiff on. I mean, James Bouknight being out of the league, that was a big miss. He was the 11th pick. Tidjane Salaün, obviously he's a project guy, so they're still holding out hope. I don't think they were ever expecting him to be a legit solid rotation player by year 2. I am really low on him though, and I do view that as a whiff with the 6th pick, especially when you consider, as we've talked about, Donovan Clingan being out there. They got Kalkbrenner now, who's good, but they've had some misses. They haven't put good teams around him, but also I think, like you said, his own availability has been a huge thing holding them back. Brandon Miller, unfortunately, now these last 2 years, having major injury issues has held them back. When LaMelo and Brandon Miller shared the floor last year, the Hornets had a 117 offensive rating. First 3-4 games of the year, this was a top-tier offense in basketball, right? When they actually had all their guys out there, and Kon was adding this dimension of phenomenal shooting and efficiency, and Kalkbrenner and Musa were contributing to this great margin on the offensive glass, and they were playing fast, and Sexton was bringing his transition scoring, and LaMelo and Brandon Miller were doing their thing reasonably well. It was an encouraging start, and then I do think the descent and everything falling apart starts with injuries, unfortunately. So I understand why this would be a mutually frustrating situation, but I also feel like both parties are to some extent trapped because I just think the potential value of healthy LaMelo for Charlotte probably exceeds whatever pennies on the dollar they would get in terms of a return, because I really do think he's just too risky an investment for another team to go out there and make. But Kon Knueppel is as safe as they come. This dude is an absolute stud. I do want to talk about some of the other candidates here, though, because I just want to do a rookie check-in, honestly. I don't know that we've talked enough about this very interesting class. Obviously, his college teammate, Cooper Flagg, entered this year as the overwhelming Rookie of the Year favorite. Do you think he's, like, next up in these conversations for you? And what chance do you think Flagg has to still ultimately win this award, even though he's not the front runner today because of what Kon has done?
I think Coop still does have a really good chance to win this award, no doubt. I mean, first of all, this goes without saying, but there's a ton of basketball left to be played. We have not yet passed the year mark, so I mean, everything could flip on its head, who knows, after January 1st, right? Like, we are very much into the early parts of this season, but I think Cooper's value in totality is what, gives him a potential edge over Kon. Say Kon slips a few in points per game, true shooting percentage, Cooper becomes a little bit more efficient. I think there's definitely a possibility there. Like, Coop is, and it sucks just the basketball situation that he has been put into Dallas, because I really think he was set up for failure with what they have done to start this year and what they have tried to make him in year one. Again, I feel like all of his basketball qualities are the connective stuff, and they've tried to make him a ball handler, and we've talked about this. I don't want to rehash all of it right now, but I don't think this is a great situation for him to thrive in his rookie year. That being said, this is a guy that is still giving you, as a rookie, 16 points per game. He's showing his versatility, 6 boards, 3 assists, over a steal a game, nearly a block a game. Like, I still think you see the flashes and what he is going to give you. And all of the things that we talked about in the pre-draft process, Carson, I feel like have been showcased. His defensive versatility and what he brings on that end. His transition scoring. And Cooper makes my eyes still pop out, man, when he has the open floor and when he is attacking off a closeout. Coop routinely makes me stand up out of the chair I am watching him play in and go, he, like, there are still moments. Like, I'm not disappointed when I watch Cooper Flagg play, and I still think that I'm not disappointed at all. I think the struggles that we have seen him struggle with have been exacerbated a little bit by the situation, and he is going to, the ball handling, stuff like that, the turnovers, the lead ball handler stuff. I think Coop's going to get better at that, and I feel like you've seen the connective qualities, and I still think there is a very high chance that he would be. I think to my number 2 right now, it is competitive. Like, you could go with an Edgecombe. I think there's a debate for a Dylan Harper or maybe a Derek Queen, Cedric Howard. This rookie class is awesome. I would hear
Dylan Harper just hasn't played enough, but on a
I'm saying per minute,
basis.
exactly. I'm saying if you were going to make a Klingon argument like I made last year, I think there's a very strong one for a guy like Dylan Harper.
He just has to literally play more games. He's got to get healthy.
Agreed. I'm saying if he keeps up at this level of production, I think that Harper's going to have a chance at the end of the year. He would be number 2 for me right now, and I do think the efficiency is going to get a little better. And some of it, I do think, man, is just like finishing. Like, I'm kind of underwhelmed at how, like, Coop has been. Coop can get downhill a lot, man. I think some of it is like I expect him to. He's a rookie, and he doesn't. Touch wasn't one of the big selling points on Coop. That's one of the areas I expect him to really take a big leap as this season gets longer and longer. I think he's going to be more efficient, but Coop would be number 2 for me right now.
His finishing has already gotten significantly better. Like, in this stretch, since he's actually had a starting point guard alongside him, he's averaging 17.5 points per game on 54% true shooting. That's not great efficiency, but it's better than what he was at. Like, when they were trying to make him the starting point guard, he was 13.6 points per game on just 50% true shooting. But specifically, like, the paint scoring, dude, in this stretch where he's had a starting point guard alongside him, he's 74% in the restricted area, 55% in the paint non-restricted area. Like, those are really good numbers. Early in the year, he was really struggling. His first 7 games, he was 50% in the restricted area. And like you mentioned, touch was an area of improvement for him as a prospect. But, like, it was really rough, some of the finishes that he was missing, that he was leaving on the table at the basket. The thing that has been keeping him from taking this huge overall efficiency leap, though, is really the jump shot. Like, he is shooting the ball very poorly from the perimeter right now, and specifically unguarded catch and shoot looks. That's where he's struggling the most. Like, the shots that should be the easiest, right? You're not creating for yourself. You're open. My observation is that sometimes on those shots, he doesn't get as much lift. And I think his energy transfer to me looks much better when he does get that lift. Like, oftentimes that is off the dribble. If he's shooting over a defender, sometimes I find even off movement, like he just gets better lift and the shot just looks better. And it has been going in more. So that's the big thing. I mean, he's just got to make more of these jumpers. Absolutely. But I do think he's a better shooter than he's shown up to this point on the year. I thought he had a really encouraging jump shooting season at Duke last year. And I think overall, the shot diet for him has gotten better. I don't think he's living off of the tough twos as much as he was early in the year. He's finishing better at the basket. And I just think life is better for him when he's not being asked to be like the primary and sometimes really lone ball handler on the floor for these extended stretches. So I can very much see a world in which Flagg comes back and wins this award. And I honestly might pick it, but I don't know, because Kon is nasty, dude. Like, Kon is having what would be a strong Rookie of the Year campaign. 65% true shooting as a rookie guard, plus 7% relative true shooting in a not easy situation with significant volume. Like, that is nuts. If we were to hold him up to recent Rookie of the Year winners, like, obviously Wemby is in a class of his own, but like, that would be a much better campaign, obviously, than Castle, who won last year. It would be a better campaign to me than Paolo, Scottie Barnes, these other recent winners. Like, the level of offensive impact, production, efficiency that we're getting from Kon Knueppel right now is crazy. Also, I don't think I said this stat when I was talking about him screening for other guards, other ball handlers, but when he does that, he is scoring 1.85 points per possession. Think about that. That's equivalent to making 92% of your two-pointers. Like, it's just absurd efficiency. So he set a really, really high bar for anybody else to catch up to. But Flagg, I definitely think, at least has the best long-term chance to push him in this award and maybe win it. VJ Edgecombe, super impressive. Came out the gates like crazy hot. He's down to 16, 6, and 4 on 50% true shooting now, and for him, it's really just been the rim finishing and the intermediate shot making regressing a lot, which is not surprising. Those were not areas of his that you would have considered a strength coming in. I mean, he's always had this ability to get to the rim as an elite athlete, but his finishing touch left a lot to be desired in college, and he started the year finishing really well, but that has come all the way back down to earth. So VJ's really good, but he doesn't have a case over Kon at this point. Cedric Coward, my GOAT, my love, one of the safest, highest floor, just most bankably really good all-around wings in this class.
Can you check me on something?
I will, right now.
I don't know if it's the number. Dude, I think Cedric Coward's jump shot just looks like Michael Jordan's to me, man. I don't know. He has a sexy jump shot.
You heard it right here. Cedric Coward is Michael Jordan. Somebody had to say it because we were all thinking it. Literally every last one of us. He's so good, dude. The shot is so pure. He's such a good athlete. He's got such great measurables, such good feel. I mean, the passing, the totality of what he brings to the table, his defense.
He's going to be awesome. I think, like,
just such a lock.
There's so much there already, and I think there's so much more to tap into with Cedric.
Makes every single team on the planet better the second he sets foot on the floor. And I think that is true of him as a rookie. And he is an older rookie, but he's also a guy who was playing non-Power 5 basketball. And then he was at Washington State, and like, he just impacts the game, man. He's phenomenal in transition. He's a really good cutter. Like, I just love the guy. So he deserves a mention. And then Dylan Harper on a per-minute basis, like, we just haven't seen him in a while, but I thought he was ridiculously impressive. I think he gets into the paint whenever he wants. I think he's a great finisher. I think he's a really good passer. Like, if you were to ask me who do you think is going to be the best offensive player in this class, coming into the year, I was really, really close between him and Flagg. I would say I've certainly been more impressed by Harper offensively early in the year, so he'd probably have my vote there. We just got to see him out on the court more. And then the really interesting guys here, Logan, who I want to spend a second talking about, you mentioned them briefly, the Pelicans rookies, both Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen being put in this spot with this team that is just decimated by injuries and all around sucks to take on these big loads. Where do they factor into this conversation for you, and what have you made of their performances?
They would be on... I'm trying to figure out. I would have Dylan Harper. I think he would be, like, again, I'm just penciling him in.
Okay.
Because of how effective he's been. I don't know. It's like they are in an interesting spot because most of these guys, even though, like, Kon does have a lot on his plate and he's delivering, and that's why I think he is, like, you know, head and shoulders the pick. A lot of these guys are in supporting roles, right? Like a Cedric Coward is in a supporting role in Memphis, or like VJ is in a supporting role, right? Where like Queen and Fears, like they are, like you said, like they're actually taking on like lead responsibilities. I would have Queen, I think, above Fears, although Fears has looked really good. I also just love Derek Queen, man. You know that. Like, I love Derek Queen coming out of the draft, too, a lot. I had him top 5 for a while, and, like, I still think some of the defensive things are a concern, but he looks so damn good offensively. And Fears, nobody can stay in front of the guy, man. I still think Fears has a higher ceiling long-term. Like, I still do see a really high star upside with him if he can figure out this shot. And the shot looks good. Like, it doesn't look visually like, oh, this shit's broken. Like, I think Fears is going to be a good jump shooter, and 36% isn't something to shake a stick at.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Fears long-term, but, like, as an impact right now, I think I would prefer Queen in my Rookie of the Year hierarchy. But I will say, the picks, there's nothing that I could do to rewrite the pick that they traded. Like, I think that is a catastrophically bad decision. There's nothing redeemable about that choice. I do think Fears and Queen are building blocks for this team. I think they are both guys that are going to be here long term, and that you can. I think they're going to be a part of this team's plans long term, and guys that they can build upon. And I know people aren't going to like this. There is just a tweener aspect with Queen that makes it tough, where there are trade-offs that are just obvious with his archetype. Like, I think he's a really fun player, and he's a good offensive player, and I think you can win games with him. It's just going to be a little janky. You know what I mean? Your lineups aren't ever, I think, going to be totally like copacetic. I think you're always going to have a little bit of a trade-off with him on the court, but I'm encouraged. I got a little thing I want to touch on Flagg with here in a minute, but
sure.
What do you think of the Pelicans? Who do you prefer more long-term, and who's been more impressive to you to start the year?
Logan's making me choose, even though the great Pablo Neruda once told us that comparison is the thief of joy, and yet here he is stealing my joy. I'll say this as I dodge the question. My thought when the Pelicans had this very interesting draft was I really like the value on the talents they got, but also both guys have their downsides and they don't fit with this current roster in a way that makes sense, especially Queen. I was like, how are you going to try to play this guy alongside Zion? What's clear to me now is just how cooked the current roster really is. So who cares about the second part of that equation? Like, that doesn't matter. I think after this season, Zion, Trey, Herb Jones, all these guys should be gone if the Pelicans can get a decent return, which they definitely can for Trey and Herb. Zion, I don't know, but you just need to launch into full rebuild mode. Like, this thing is so over, which is why the trade with the Hawks was so stupid. And I know there are going to be plenty of people this year who have the take, Derek Queen is really good. Why are people saying that this was a dumb trade? Everybody's wrong. It's never been about Derek Queen, man. Like, it has been about the fact that they gave up what is now looking likely to be a top 3 pick in a draft class that potentially has the greatest top 3 talents in terms of their caliber as prospects going into the year that we've ever seen. That's what it is. It's just short-sighted. Like, it's not that you don't like Derek Queen as the talent, as the value. It's just you got to keep in mind what you are giving up literally 1 year down the line. That is always going to be a horrific decision in my mind. But we should judge Derek Queen independent of that, not the Pelicans and their decision, because that's all interrelated. But getting Derek Queen with the 13th pick, I think, is absolutely well worth the upside play. One thing that I will say about Fears and Queen is they were always both more of a sure thing to be fun and interesting and exciting than actually like super impactful, if that makes sense, because Fears is this just like really electrifying guard to watch, right? With his ability to consistently get into the paint, with his quickness, with his footwork in the lane. And I've been impressed by his ability to take on like this legitimate pick and roll creation. That being said, the questions with him have more so always been, okay, how consistent is the jump shot? Can he cut down on the turnovers?
I mean, for
Can he
how
hold his own
young
defensively?
Fears still is, though. It is really impressive. The guy's just turned 19.
No, totally, dude. I'm a Jeremiah Fears believer. There were a lot of people who were saying this guy is not a lottery talent, and I had him, I want to say, 9th on my board. Like, I'm a Jeremiah Fears believer in the scheme of things, because I do think there's a lot of offensive upside there. My point is, the questions about him weren't, can he take on a significant offensive load and like put up pretty good volume numbers for you? It was more so about these things on the margin. But overall, I've been encouraged. Like, I think the 3-point shot, we need to see a larger sample, but like it's looked solid. The turnovers have been less of an issue than they were for him in college when he did have this crazy load on his plate, even defensively, which was an area where I was like, yeah, it's going to be hard for Fears at the next level. He's shown a little more activity, made some more plays in terms of deflections and steals. So I like him. I think he's really good. Queen, I think, is the player who everybody is falling in love with right now, because who doesn't love the big, who's got sexy passing feel, who can take people off the dribble, who's a really effective driver like that, this sort of wacky combination of craft with size, with quickness, with strength. Like, he's been really good as an isolationist. He really has. He is difficult to cover one-on-one when he's operating within like 18 feet of the basket, and he can make the passing reads, and he gets to the line a lot. So I like Derek Queen too, but again, my concerns with him have always been more so, okay, what does a defense with him at the 5 look like when he is this relatively ground-bound big? He can do good work on the glass on both sides, but as a rim protector, he's lacking. And then offensively, he doesn't have the play finishing traits of a center, right? He does operate more so like this sort of modern yet classic high post isolation power forward, but I don't think the indicators are good in terms of him becoming like an actual stretch big who shoots the 3 well. We've seen him try to do that a little more so in college, but it's just not comfortable for him. And even though like the free throw touch is pretty good, that 3 ball, it just has never gone in. It's never been a part of his game.
I just think it's going to take a long time if it's going to develop. Like,
yeah,
there are guys that have these rapid kind of turnarounds, but I think Queen is a guy that, I mean, you saw it in college. He was like, what? I don't want to misspeak. I think he was like 18% as a prospect or something like that. Like he was, and he didn't shoot it on high volume. And it's strange, right? Because like he looks really comfortable getting into that mid-range pull-up and taking mid-range jumpers in general, but it just doesn't translate. But I think those are, I don't know, man. I've seen people make it an issue like people don't think he's skilled or you know, they try to make it something that it's not, and it's like there are just some core limitations that make you wonder how he impacts winning. Like I think you just said it well. Like the defense, the rim protection center is so important for that, and
yeah,
you just can't be a non-spacer in today's NBA unless they want to fully run the offense through him.
Well, I think anybody who's questioning if Derek Queen is skilled has probably never watched a second of him playing basketball. Like he's obviously highly, highly skilled for a big man. That is not the question. And the ability of both these guys to produce at the level that they have, like no matter how many touches, opportunities, minutes you're getting, it is not a given to be able to go out there and put up 15 a game on solid efficiency like Fears has, or in 23 minutes a game like 13, 6.5, and 3.5 like Queen has. Like that is impressive in and of itself. And yet again, raw talent has never been the concern with these guys. It's been more fit in today's NBA and some of these specific swing traits where there are concerns about them, and that hasn't necessarily been alleviated for me. But all that to say, I still like the Pelicans draft if you take away the fact that they traded away an unprotected first-round pick to the Hawks this year.
Ironically, though, I actually think that New Orleans is a good spot for Queen and Fears with what they need right now in their careers. Obviously, because of their unique archetypes, we wanted them to go to situations where there was a more seamless fit. Like, I really liked Queen potentially to San Antonio, where he could bring some offensive juice and play him at the 4 alongside a guy like Wemby. Like, I thought that would have been a match made in heaven, where you have the floor spacing of Wemby and the rim protection, and he makes up for what Queen doesn't bring. But that being said, Queen and Fears to me are both guys that just need reps right now. And so for that, I am glad that they went to a spot where they can kind of play freely. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a ton of pressure on them to play winning basketball. They can feel it out. They can just, like, and I don't want to use this comparison as like a one-to-one, but like a Jonathan Kuminga, I would have loved to have gone to a spot where he was like able to play and just, and again, I don't think, I loved Fears and Queen way more as prospects than I ever liked a guy like Kuminga, because there was just a ton more offensive talent and polish. But what I mean by that is there is just certain prospects that need to either go and figure it out, or they're not going to figure it out. And I think for Fears and Queen both, I'm glad that they went to a spot where there weren't a lot of guys in front of them positionally, where they weren't ever going to get any burn, or they have a ton of pressure to play winning basketball right this second. Like, in that sense, I do think New Orleans was a good fit for them.
I agree, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and there's going to be a number of sick highlights from both of them and fun performances where Fears drops 30 and Queen drops 20, 12, and 7. Like, there is not going to be any lack of that, and that'll be the highlight of the Pelicans season, because there's not a lot of other good stuff going on. I will say the last thing with Queen, it's the overall scoring away from literally being at the basket. I mean, his finishing at the rim is really good, but the mid-range stuff, I think he's shooting 25%. In the paint, outside the restricted area, he's only 35%, and we mentioned that total lack of a 3-ball, and again, he doesn't have that play finishing skill set. So the guy is really, really fun. Some of this stuff does have to be refined and improved upon, though, for him to be the best version of himself, for him to be like a real building block, considering some of the funkiness, some of the defensive limitations that do probably come with trying to actually build around him. But it's been a really fun start from these rookies, and it's been a really fun start, Logan, from the Toronto Raptors in this Eastern Conference that continues to impress, man. Like, just a lot of scrappy to good, overachieving teams in the East. Maybe some of the teams you thought would be at the top of the standings actually underachieving a little bit, but the Raptors are sitting right now as the 2 seed in the conference. They're 13-5. They've won 8 straight games. How legit is this hot start from Toronto?
Toronto was a team I bought into in the preseason a little bit, comparative to consensus. Now, I don't think I picked the Raptors to win a ton of games. Like, they're on a much better trajectory than I think I picked them to be like 500 or just below 500, but sneak into the playoffs. There have been 2 teams in the East that have really impressed me and surprised me, and that's Toronto and that's Miami. Real quick, because we're not going to talk about them today, I do just want to give a short shout-out to Khalil Ware. Holy shit. Khalil Ware has been one of my guys, but what he has been doing recently, Carson, on a per 36-minute basis, he's giving you 18 points, 16 rebounds, 5 of them offensive, 1.5 steals, 2 blocks on 50, 40, 79 splits. Because we're not going to talk about them today, I just wanted to give a shout-out to Miami and Khalil because I'm super impressed, but I'm in on Toronto, man. Like, I don't know is like a real contender, but I'm in on Toronto being just a good basketball team. Like, here, I'll compare it to this. You called Chicago fake. I got Chicago wrong. I'm going to actually buy in Toronto as an actual good basketball team.
Good decision. Let's check in actually just on how far Chicago has fallen. Because I think that there are, 10 teams that I like in the East more than them. I don't even like them as a play-in team, which is where they love to be more than anything else. But I feel very differently about Toronto. Toronto has moved me. Toronto looks really good.
I am also in on Toronto. Toronto's 13-5. They've won 8 straight games during that streak. That includes 2 wins over Cleveland and a win over Philadelphia. They now have 3 wins over Cleveland on the season, obviously, with the context that Garland has not been available and healthy for them. But those are some big wins. Like, this isn't just them beating up on the cookie-cutter teams of the Eastern Conference. Like, they have some legit wins here. And on the season now, they are 6th in offensive rating, and they are 6th in defensive rating. And defense is where I've been most impressed with Toronto throughout this season. It is the fact that this team doesn't have any positional weaknesses. They have been great defensively, and they have been great in transition. And I'm going to give some praise to Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes here in a minute. The guy that has impressed me the most, no bullshit, Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl makes me hype, man. Jakob Poeltl, I know you've banged the drum for Jakob Poeltl for a long time in years previous. Every time I watch Raptors games, I'm just like, wow, this guy just consistently does little shit that doesn't get appreciated. Like, he is a really good defensive player and rim protector, and those archetypes tend to get overlooked more than others. The guy runs the floor at a really high level for such a big guy. He's just surprisingly mobile for a guy that you wouldn't expect to be, and he's just really high IQ. He's a really good passer, too, man. This last game against Cleveland, he had a beautiful backdoor pass in the fourth quarter to Agbaji. He ran the floor and had a nice fast break dunk from Scottie Barnes. Really smart double team in the clutch. Like, Jakob's just a really good connector. And so, him in totality, this is a really big-ass team that is really good on the boards, that doesn't have any weaknesses. And I really like the wing tandem of Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram, Carson. And I was skeptical of Brandon Ingram and what he was going to look like for this team. But I actually really like the fact that he can take off some of the ball handling responsibilities and some of the scoring load off of a guy like Scottie Barnes. And that's the biggest difference for me, because Scottie, I still don't like as like a half-court engine, but him as an off-ball guy, like, he's shooting 50% from the field and 40% from deep right now. And I don't know if that's going to continue, if that's a real leap, but the fact that he doesn't have to take so many of these difficult off-the-dribble kind of shots and Brandon Ingram can manufacture them for him are massive to me. And Brandon Ingram, Carson, he's another one of your guys that I overlooked. I didn't put him in my top 10 small forwards in the offseason, and I was just wrong. Brandon Ingram fires me up. He plays a really... he makes me feel tingly, man.
Call
I just
it sexual.
Like,
Keep calling things sexual. Why not?
His hezzy and his crossover, Brandon Ingram freezes guys. Like, there are guys that you guard when you're playing basketball that they make you angry because they don't. There are some guys that when you play in basketball, they're just so athletic, you never had a prayer of staying in front of them. Like, if you guarded a Men Thompson or Anthony Edwards, you would just throw your hands up and be like, damn, I ain't got nothing.
Yeah, not Ingram, me personally. Me personally, I would have something. But yes, the average person for sure.
I'm just saying a guy in the NBA. Ingram would frustrate me because he's not exceptionally athletic or twitchy where he's just going to blow by you, but he freezes you momentarily, and then he can just get his shot up and over you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I think we saw him grow so much as a playmaker and a passer in New Orleans, and I think he has taken that skill set and grown, and he is a guy that I trust with the ball in his hands to generate a really high shot quality as a scorer or as a playmaker. And it's just these things in totality, man. And now they have some aggregate shooting around them that I really like. Like Grady Dick is a flamethrower. I think Emmanuel Quickly has been good from behind the arc and is a ball handler. There's just a lot. And that was why I bought in on Toronto. The reason that I said that Toronto was going to make the playoffs, again, I'm not going to act like I had them winning 50 games or something like that. At the core, I looked at Toronto coming into this season, and I said, wow, these guys just have too many basketball players that I like for me to not bet on them to make the playoffs. And I feel like that's what's really come together. But it's strange. You know, I know you made your no point guards video. It is a strange. I called them the island of misfit toys all of last year, like these just discarded players. But I think it works. I think they are. I think the offense, maybe like the half-court offense, may be a little inflated at this point in the season. But I think the defense, the transition is really, really legit. And they have offensive players that I do think can produce enough of a shot quality in the half-court that I buy in on them in a weak East. And so, hand up, I was wrong on Chicago. I do buy into Toronto. I think they are a legit team here in the East. And I'm excited, man. Toronto is just one of those teams that I put on at night, and they're a joy to watch, man. They play with a ton of ferocity, and intensity on the defensive end, and they're really fun watch. I like Toronto a lot, man. They're one of my favorite teams this year.
I like them too, and I underestimated them. And the reason for that was more so underestimating the fit than anything else. I mean, that's where I was concerned here. It wasn't that I was super low on these individual talents in a vacuum, although I don't think I've been the highest on any of these guys, but it was more so, okay, you've invested a ton financially in this core, and I just worried a bit about some potential clunkiness with a BI, a Scottie Barnes, RJ, all these guys together who like to have the ball in their hands a fair bit, who primarily want to be getting downhill or at least playing inside the arc, lack of consistent, good volume three-point shooting among them. I just thought maybe there was some redundancies there, and then I thought, okay, defensively, yes, you have size and length and athleticism, but are you going to get a lot of buy-in from all of these guys who are thinking, I'm a primary offensive option, that's where I'm bringing value to this team? That's where I ended up thinking I just don't really think it's going to gel and work, but it has gelled and worked a lot better than I expected, and I want to give a lot of credit to Coach Darko for the job that he has done, because I think that he has been exceptional for this team, and like you said, they've been really good on both sides of the ball. The thing that immediately stood out, like, opening night, the Raptors were one of the teams that I shouted out, and I said, yeah, I think they're going to be better than I expected because they're so good in transition. They are one of the absolute best transition teams on both sides of the ball. They are top 3 in transition scoring, and they are top 3 in terms of allowing the fewest transition points per game. So this is something we talk about being at such a premium in today's NBA.
10-point per game differential in transition.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. If you bake that margin into every game, it gives you such a valuable floor, and they do that on the back of their athleticism. Having guys like RJ and Scottie, who obviously are going to thrive in transition as really good athletes and drivers in the open floor with a lot of space around them. So that has been a huge strength of theirs. They have also been good in terms of another margin that we talk about a fair bit, which is protecting the basketball and forcing turnovers. They are top 8 in turnover percentage. They protect the ball well, and they are top 8 in opponent turnover percentage. They force a lot of turnovers. So they're hitting some of those key markers for how these athletic teams can build margin every game, which I really do like. But they've also legitimately been a very good half-court offense. Like, that has been probably the bigger surprise to me. They're shooting the ball a lot better than last year. They're 7th in three-point percentage right now. They're still a lower volume three-point shooting team, but shooting it at a better clip is valuable regardless. I don't know that they're going to sustain that being a top 10 three-point shooting team in terms of accuracy, but it's been a good start, and I think they've done a really good job of putting together lineups and putting together spacing concepts that just make this whole operation run a lot more smoothly than I was anticipating. Like, they're a great cutting team. They are top 7 in points per game off cuts. Makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of big athletes, but guys are buying in, moving smartly without the ball, and they've got a lot of dudes who can handle and make plays, and that spacing and that overall collective off-ball play, it's just been more fluid than I expected. And I think the depth of Toronto is a huge part of this, which I also underestimated, because I want to give credit to the guys at the top, the big names on the marquee. This is the best Scottie Barnes has ever been. His defense has been awesome. That's maybe been the standout part of the season.
I was going to add, too, that's another like kind of other domino that I think has fallen with Brandon Ingram is, like, I think Ingram's offensive creation has taken an offensive load off of the other guys, which has allowed them to really lock in more on that end, and I think it's the entire team.
Yeah. Scottie, though, has always been a guy who, since he was a prospect, I looked at and I thought he should absolutely better defensive player than an offensive player. I always thought that's where he's got all defense potential, right? His offensive game, to me, it's always been clunky. I haven't been the highest on it. Again, I mean, he's having a career efficiency season. He's playing very well. But the fact that he is now delivering that defensive value that is pretty much what I expected from him as a prospect, that has just made him a clearly more valuable, more effective player overall this year. And like you said, usage rate is down, offensive toll is down a bit. That makes that more possible. RJ Barrett is somebody who just gets to the rim a ton, always does, but he's finishing better this year. He's had a lot of finishing issues, and he's shooting the 3-ball decently well. I mean, he's making like 36% on 5 attempts a game. That's enough for this team. And then B.I., like you said, he's the guy who is the actual big-time shot maker in the half court who you can rely on and bring that self-created offense. And even though it's not going to be the most efficient, and, he's a good, not great passer, right? He lives out of the mid-range a lot. Some of these things that you would say, he doesn't get to the rim a ton. He doesn't take a ton of threes.
That, man. B.I.'s tough, man.
B.I.'s tough as hell. B.I.'s tough as hell. What I'm saying is I think the conversation with him went too far in the negative direction. Like, this is where I advocated for him, right? When we were talking about this offseason, I was like, I understand that B.I. has these flaws, and that's why we're not talking about him as a top 20, top 25 player, whatever. Nevertheless, his ability to self-create offense with the efficiency he does
is
unstoppable. Is valuable.
Just unstoppable sometimes, man. Like, what he was doing down the stretch of that Cleveland game was so impressive. Like, he did just the rise and fire. Also, real quick, because we're not talking about I'm kind of mad at Kenny Atkinson for how he managed that game the other night. I think he waited way too long to put Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley back in that game. Like, he waited until the 5-minute – and don't get me wrong, like, Mitchell and Mobley are good enough, but, like, he didn't leave them, in my opinion, enough margin to, like, really try to come back in that game. I thought he kind of bungled that a little bit. But anyways –
Logan's got so many basketball takes to get off. We're going on a million tangents. And by the way, I love it and I respect the hell out of it. But what I'm saying with B.I. is, like, he is not somebody who is ever going to post a true shooting percentage that is going to wow you, right? He's always going to be pretty average in that department. However, when you consider his situation, his play types, how much of his burden is on ball, like if you look at pick and roll scoring efficiency, he's in the 78th percentile this year. Like, that's very good self-created offense. He's been above average efficiency as an isolation player, as a post-up player on, like, even decent volume there. So I do think having a guy like that is important, is valuable for this Toronto team. So I'm shouting out the big guys. My whole point here, though, was the depth and how I underrated that, because if you actually look at their big three, B.I., RJ, Scottie, they haven't been good together. Like, I actually still don't love the fit there. They are a negative 2.5 net team in those minutes, and they've really struggled defensively. But where they thrive is when they have two of those guys on the floor, or one of those guys on the floor, right? You need to have somebody who can be that lead creator. And then they get some of these bench guys in there who just make the fit more intuitive. And you got to shout out IQ too, because he got off to a rough start to the year, but he's been much better since. But Sandro Mamukelashvili, dude, he just flat out rocks. Like, he is such a good backup big, and I really like Pirtle, but he gives them such a different look. And specifically, his ability to play from the perimeter is so valuable for this team for whom spacing was something of a question. Volume 3-point shooting, again, is never going to be their strength. Like, this dude is spraying threes at a 44% clip. He can really handle, he can pass, he can push in transition. I love him. Shed is a quality backup point guard. Grady Dick, as you mentioned, is a pretty explosive backup scoring guard and somebody who brings a little bit of on-ball juice, a little bit of playmaking, but just has that really, really valuable three-point shooting ability. He hasn't shot the ball his best from beyond the arc this year, but we know he can do that. So, like, those three, Dick, Shed, and Sandro, they have by far the best on-court net ratings on the team. Like, when any of those guys are on the floor, Toronto's like a plus 13 to plus 17 net team. So it really is the bench that's coming in huge and winning these minutes for them. And I like Colin Murray-Boyles, too. I like Ochai Agbaji. He hasn't shot the ball well this year at all. But
Walter, yeah.
It's just a lot of quality players here.
Jamison Battle hit 7 threes against the Cavs one game.
All right, you're taking it a little far now.
He hit 7 threes one game, Carson.
Yeah, shout out. You know what? Shout out to Jamison Battle for that.
That shit was sick.
Yeah, it was. But what I'm saying is, like, when they find these right combinations and they're able to prioritize defensive dogs like a Colin Murray-Boyles, like an Ochai Agbaji, right? And they're able to get the shooting out there, the perimeter skill with a Grady Dick, with a Sandro, around one or two of these guys. I mean, you look at all the lineup data, and I mentioned how they've been losing the minutes with their big three altogether, but when B.I. is on without Scottie, they're a plus 11 net team. When Scottie is on without B.I., they're a plus 17 net team. When Scottie is on with RJ off, or when RJ is on with Scottie off, or when BI is on with RJ off, they're a plus 14 net team in all those different combinations. Like, And that's where I give Darko more credit. I mean, he's finding the right groups that complement each other.
I think he's the coach of the year right now. I think that's who my pick would be. I think the fact that you have gotten buy-in from all, like, I don't know, like Toronto was a team, again, when we're looking about like perspective across the league, like not a ton to look forward to. This team is bought in completely defensively. And the bigger thing to me is that they are bought in offensively moving the ball. There's nobody playing selfish basketball. Like, it's a team. And there's just, I love the vibes. They are, I think, number 2 in assists per game right now, just behind Atlanta. That is a hallmark of ball movement, team play, and, like, they're just a really good two-way team, man. And, I think Darko deserves a ton of credit for what he has done stepping in here.
I totally agree. And, again, it's on me for looking at some of the key guys on this roster and thinking like, oh, yeah, those guys are going to play 30 minutes per game together. You know, like that's how it's got to work. Or just oversimplifying and underestimating the depth and underestimating the lineup versatility and the mix and match ability here. And, yeah, they've just got a lot of guys I like, man. Good shooters off the bench, good defenders off the bench, bigs who can pass. I love how many bigs who can pass are on this team. Pirtle, Sandro, Colin Murray-Boyles. That's a part of the collective ball movement that you're talking about that has been fun. And really mastering that minute stagger so you're getting the best out of all the talent you have. He's put together this really good two-way team. I do still think there's a ceiling because of the lack of an A1 creator here. And like you said, I don't think the half-court offense is as good as the numbers would say right now. And we'll see how BI holds up as that sort of number one option, right? If he goes up against an elite, super physical, athletic perimeter defense, I could see him running into some issues, and we'll see if they keep shooting the three this efficiently. But I do like them a lot, and I think they could absolutely win a series in this East. I probably wouldn't go further than that, but I'm definitely significantly higher on them than I was to start the year, and I don't know how you couldn't be. So the East is crazy right now, man. But yeah, I'll say this. Even as somebody who has been a huge Heat enjoyer, and I love what they have done with their system so much. They're such a fun, fascinating watch. I like the Raptors more. I think that there's more talent there. I think that there is ultimately more two-way upside. And so they have been one of the teams that has moved me the most early on this year. And I agree, Logan. I've thought about it. I think Darko would be the coach of the year right now. And I actually don't think it's really that close, right? There are teams that are overachieving or whatever. I'm sure a lot of people would look at JB Bickerstaff for the Pistons and say they're 15-2. I just think the actual coaching from Darko has impressed me a lot more. So I would give him the nod. Another one of the early season stories, Logan, especially out east, has been the play of Tyrese Maxey, who just continues to put up these absolutely monstrous numbers. And we've talked about him several times already, and we've talked about the Sixers, whose ceiling I am pretty high on. Maxey is a huge, huge part of that. And I want to get more concrete with these conversations, and I want to get specific because I think we've got a big enough sample now where we can start having some of these conversations about how many guards we would take over Tyrese Maxey. This is right now. We won't do this as a long-term thing. If we're just ranking him at the position this season, Logan, how many names deep can you get before you have to give a nod to Tyrese Maxey?
All right, let's go one by one. You tell me what you think.
Let's do it.
SGA, obvious.
Stop.
Luka Doncic.
Yes.
Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
Stephen Curry.
By the way, I wasn't hesitating. I was considering whether or not I wanted to be a dick about making you go in order and saying Steph is better than Ant still, and then I realized that would be counterproductive.
This is my order.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Stephen Curry, Jalen Brunson.
Yep.
Ooh, did you think about Jalen Brunson? Was that
I think Brunson's a conversation.
Ooh, the conversation for me, I couldn't go Brunson just yet because I have such an immense amount of respect for the floor that Jalen Brunson provides. I did wonder about Donovan Mitchell. That's where I really started wondering.
I like Donovan Mitchell more than Jalen Brunson. It's
really
close.
I don't.
Mitchell's having an amazing season. Like, the 2-point scoring that we're seeing from him, the paint scoring has been absolutely ridiculous. The guy's averaging 35 and 5.5 on like 64% true shooting. I do think that Brunson is the better offensive player. We've talked about this actually between the two of them a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
the floor dynamic with Brunson where he
100%.
can always get to the
100%.
intermediate range shots. He gets the free throw line a lot. But then Mitchell has just this ridiculous ceiling of when he wants to, dominant paint scoring that he can unleash and huge volume three-point shooting explosions. I just really, really do have a problem with Brunson's defense. I think it really is problematic. And Mitchell, I think, is a solid off-ball defender. And I think Mitchell's defensive issues get exaggerated often because he's playing alongside Darius Garland. So we go like, oh, this defensive backcourt. But actually, when you have Mitchell as your de facto point guard, like if he's the smallest defender on the floor, he's got really good length. He's a really good athlete. He does have some of these instincts, and you can put a really good defense together with Donovan Mitchell on the floor. I think it's a good bit harder to do with Brunson, who is just this tiny, huge defensive liability, tiny physically, huge in terms of the significance of how much of a liability
That's funny.
he is.
I mean, my counter would be that I think I'm not going to defend Brunson as a defender at all, but I also think his defensive issues are stressed even more by having Karl Anthony Towns out there.
That is true.
With him on the court.
No, I would agree with that, but I still think that Mitchell is a significantly better defender, although I wouldn't say either of them are good, but I would say Mitchell is passable and Brunson is really bad. Mitchell
is just like a powder keg, like a stick of dynamite. He is one of the best I've ever seen he gets one to go through the hole, and then he could rip off 20 points in 4 minutes, and you're just cooked. You're just left with nothing left. And then the next guy, and the next two guys really that I think we're really having a debate, and I think I would take Maxey over both of these guys. Next two guys I wrote down are Devin Booker and Cade Cunningham, and I think I would take Tyrese Maxey over both of them. And Darius Garland, I think, is an interesting question at his apex, but he is included, I think, in this next group below Cade and below Devin Booker. Yeah. So this is where I would have Maxey behind Mitchell, behind Brunson, and I would have him ahead of D-Book, Garland, and Cade.
Interesting. All right. Well, first of all, let's acknowledge that we are not including the wonderful Tyrese Halliburton in this, as much as the Tyrese versus Tyrese debates are great. Okay, well, I guess we can't include him in this. I also would, but he has a torn Achilles right now, so we don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. Maxey is clear, brother. Maxey is clear.
Well, no, I thought that's who you were talking about. Oh, you're talking about Tyrese.
I was talking about Tyrese. Kyrie's got a torn ACL. A lot of guards, major injuries. It sucks. But I agree absolutely. Shea, Luka, Steph, Ant, Mitchell over Maxey. Booker and Brunson are real conversations for me. I'm still going to give both of them the nods for now, just because I would need to see a bigger sample of this out of Maxey.
The thing with, I guess you could make a case for Book's malleability. The issue for me with Book is the turnover issue with him as your lead guard.
Book's had the ball in his hands a lot this year.
I know, and I can give guys passes. I just think that's never an issue with Maxey.
No, Maxey's phenomenal at protecting the basketball, but I also think Book is crazy when it comes to his offensive versatility and how much he can excel off ball and on ball, and his ridiculous versatility as a shot maker, being this god from the mid-range.
I don't think Maxey's at that level, but I think Maxey can also do it as your number one or also as your number two. I think he can fit alongside guys too.
I love Maxey, man. I do. And like I'm saying, I think this is a conversation, but it's interesting to me that you would be like Mitchell and Brunson, they're good. Booker is not, because I think those guys are all so close, and it's almost like a matter of who's playing the best at a given moment and kind of what's your little preference. In no world do I think Jalen Brunson is significantly better than Devin Booker.
I don't think he's significant, but I just trust Brunson as my floor general in the playoffs. I just know what Brunson is giving me.
But I think you know what Book is giving you. I mean, Book is literally a walking 27 a game on 60% true shooting with 7 assists a game. And
I guess I've just seen more duds from Book in the playoffs than Brunson, and I guess I'm holding that against him. I mean, Book has the size compared to Brunson. Like, if we were like, he's not obviously going to be as big of a defensive liability, so you can factor that in.
Not even close.
No, it's
He's
not
totally
remotely
solid
close.
defender.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is probably the biggest edge, but Brunson is such a solid floor raiser in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I just think maybe you're slightly underrating how awesome Book's offensive versatility really is. I mean, when we talk about him as an off-ball player compared to some of these other guys in this range, it's not close. Now, Maxey, I actually do think is a good off-ball player, quite good. Still not as good as Book, in my opinion. I don't know, just that ability to, like, carve up a defense like that from the mid-range with legitimately good efficiency, and to, on top of that, have the size, have the ability to get to the free throw line at an elite rate, which he always does, which does give him, like, this scoring floor in terms of efficiency and production. Book's a monster out there, and I think what he has done, taking this Phoenix group to be an above-average offense, like, that's no joke, man. That's an impressive carry job, and we've also seen him excel alongside a relatively ball-dominant point guard in a Chris Paul. I just think we've seen him work in so many different situations offensively, and he's getting a little underrated right now, in my opinion, because the situation around him has been so horrific and even though they're winning right now, I still don't think that he's getting enough credit for elevating the team like he has been. So I would give Book the nod for now, but Maxey has been playing better this year, and I do think that Maxey is better than Cade. So that's where I draw the line, and that's where I start taking Maxey over everybody else. And I actually think Cade is really the only, like, serious conversation. Everybody after that, if you get to the Garlands, the Trays, the Hardens, the Kyries, whatever, like, Maxey is clear of all of those guys. This dude is insane, man. He's currently averaging 32 points and 7.5 assists per game with just 2.7 turnovers. He's the first player ever to meet that stat line, that scoring and playmaking volume while protecting the ball like that. And he's doing it on plus 3% relative true shooting, which is impressive for a small guard with that sort of crazy volume again. And part of that is his shot diet, dude. It's just, like, optimized for efficiency at this point. I mean, Maxey is making 3.9 threes and 6.8 free throws per game. The only players to ever hit that marker over a full season, it's James Harden twice, it's Damian Lillard twice, and it's Luka Doncic once. And he would join Dame as the only player to ever do that while shooting 40% from three. So he's got this crazy combination of threes and free throws, and his finishing has been better this year. He's shooting 63% in the restricted area. That's compared to 59% last year. So his overall rim scoring presence has gone up a level, as has his beyond the arc scoring, as he's having this career best three-point shooting season. I think his playmaking has taken a leap. He's always had this great floater game. Like, he went from a really good on and off all-star kind of player where it's like 1 year you could see him making it, 1 year maybe he's not going to make it, to now, like, just serious top 15 conversations, being this absolute monster offensive engine. The Philly offense is 12 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor. They're an elite offense when he plays. And versatility is a strength of his. I would agree with that. Like, he's got this incredible combination of strengths where you can put the ball in his hands out of pick and roll over and over again, and he can kill you from every level, at the rim, intermediate shot making, and beyond the arc. And he creates with elite efficiency overall, getting to the free throw line a ton, right? All of these things. He's also one of the absolute best transition scorers in basketball, just ridiculous full court speed. He's number 2 in the NBA in transition points per game, and he averages 1.41 points per possession there. He's a more efficient transition scorer than Giannis Antetokounmpo, Logan. Like, he is a weapon there. And he's also like this lethal catch and shooter at volume. He's currently making 51% of 4 catch and shoot threes a game. So again, that is off-ball value that a Jalen Brunson is not giving you, that a Donovan Mitchell is not giving you. So I love his offensive game. I really do. He's great on ball. He's really good off ball. He's great in the half court. He's great in the full court. He's really good at every level. He's efficient. He protects the ball while he can take on this crazy volume, and he plays crazy minutes is another part of it. The guy's out there for 40 minutes a game, and you don't get diminishing returns. His team is 13 points per 100 better with him overall on the floor. Like, I really, really do think he is a superstar. But the thing is, again, seems like we really got hung up on Devin Booker there. Maybe it's more of a difference of opinion on Book than anything else. I don't know, because to me it's like, I think he is playing better than Brunson this year. I think he is playing better than Booker. I couldn't say he's playing better than Donovan Mitchell with what he's been doing, but that is really close. I just need to see a little bit more because those guys have been at that top 15 level consistently for years now, and we know who they are. So that's why I give them the edge still for now. But nobody beyond that is good enough nor proven enough for me to take them over Maxey, and beyond Cade for me to even seriously consider it. So I know that Cade conversation is one that people will want to hear a lot about, but where do you land on that? You land on the Maxey side as well?
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to add, I mean, I think one of the biggest differences from last season, too, is the fact that Maxey's shooting nearly 52% on catch-and-shoot threes. He shot 18% worse last year, 34% on catch-and-shoot attempts. Now, I think Maxey has gotten better as a shooter. I also just think that has the fact to do with there's better personnel around him, so people aren't, completely zeroed in on him.
Well, he's also not going to continue to shoot 52% on catch-and-shoot threes.
Well, yeah, that's a complete outlier. There's no one in the like Joe Harris might do that over a complete season, but I wanted to add that in because that's not sustainable.
Well, but to counter the point that I just made, also last year was an uncharacteristically down catch and shoot year. Maxey is an elite catch and shooter. 52%, that's nuts, but a couple years ago he was 45%. 44%. The year before that,
I think
he was
45%. Yeah.
So I'm actually looking at it now. I believe, after his rookie year, every season 2022 through 2024, he was a 44 or 45% catch and shoot guy from deep. So he's awesome there for sure. And last year was just a rough shooting year for him.
The thing with, it's really close. I want to be clear about this between Booker, Brunson, and Mitchell. For me, against Booker, I like Maxey's athletic advantages that he has, and I like that he protects the ball better. He is just so much faster. I think he just gets easier offense than Book, and he protects the ball better, so that's why I prefer Tyrese. And then with a Cade is interesting. The athletic difference is huge to me in Cade. Cade has the size and the strength, but I think Maxey's speed and quickness just unlocks shots that Cade physically cannot get to. And I think Maxey's just he's a way better shooter from behind the arc. That's not even close.
Yeah.
Off catch, off movement, all of it. He's just a way better shooter than Cade. And I think he's a better finisher at the rim. And so just when I look at them as in their complete scoring profiles, I think Maxey just clears. And the athletic difference, the turnover difference is huge to me when we get into that dilemma with Maxey versus Cade. Cade's gotten better at protecting the ball, but that's never been a problem with Tyrese. And both of these guys, as good as Cade is as a defensive player, both of these guys derive most of their value from their ability to get, to generate offense. And I think Maxey is just a better offensive player than Cade. So, it's close, but in a playoff scenario, I want the guy that's just going to produce offense at will, and that's what Tyrese is doing. Maybe he comes back to earth a little bit more than what he's done, but I agree with you, Carson. I think this is a legitimate leap from Maxey. And don't get me wrong. Yeah. I like Cade. Cade can close this gap. Cade can get better at the things that he is not great at. Maxey has legitimately gotten better, but I would need to see it from Cade. Finishing better at the rim, better off ball. That's something that's going to have to be unlocked when Jaden Ivey comes back and the ball isn't in his hands as much. But more importantly, the perimeter shooting at the scoring at the rim would have to get better for me to take him over Maxey. So I would take Maxey over Cade right now.
I put out this poll today, Cade versus Maxey, who's better. 77% of people said Cade, and a lot of people were acting like I was crazy for even asking. And I saw one reply that was Maxey is better at scoring, Cade is better at everything else, as if that makes it obvious, right? Cade is the better basketball player. Well, you could also say that about Rajon Rondo versus James Harden, could you not? Yeah, Harden is better at scoring, but Rondo is better at everything else. Obviously, I'm using the most extreme example here to prove my point, but my point is that you do not judge a basketball player's value by going, here is trait 1, here is trait 2, here is trait 3, here is trait 4. Check, this guy's better at this, guy's better at that. If you're way better at one trait, specifically a key offensive trait, that can make you the better, more valuable overall player. I think Tyrese Maxey is a way better scorer than Cade Cunningham. Like, the difference in volume, that's significant, right? Where this guy's giving you 5 or 6 more points per game. The difference in efficiency is huge, where Tyrese Maxey is doing it on 7% better true shooting than Cade, who consistently struggles with scoring efficiency. And all the traits indicate that this should continue. Like, Maxey is somebody who is able to get a higher volume of threes up. He is significantly, I need a bigger word than that, dramatically, monumentally better as a shooter, both pulling up and off the catch from beyond the arc. He gets to the line more, he gets to the rim more, and finishes better at the rim, like, especially. Like, so all of these areas in which Cade can struggle to self-create efficient offense with his issues at the rim and from beyond the arc, Maxey is excelling right now at putting together that sort of ideal shot diet. And then he's also, like, much better in transition, where he's a weapon. He's a much better off-ball scorer. So you put all that together, and it's like, yeah, Cade is a better passer. But when you consider that even though Cade is protecting the ball better this year, Maxey still protects the ball significantly better. With Tyrese Maxey as my center point for my offense, I think he is going to give me the more efficient offense. I think he is going to do that with the ball in his hands, and I think he's also going to be more impactful away from the ball. So that's what it comes down to. Like, I don't know if people aren't watching Maxey or what, or I don't know if everybody has,
I think,
like,
it's a
Cade is top 5 brain,
exactly.
but
I think that's what it is. I think it is the fact that, I mean, we can put the puzzle pieces together, Carson. The fact that the Pistons are number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now. Cade now for 2 seasons has been on a really good team in Detroit that has made the playoffs, that is going to make the playoffs, and he's been averaging, a near triple-double. And so I think people look at that. I think it's a reputation thing, and then I think people are probably holding it against Maxey that he didn't drag the most disastrous Philadelphia 76ers team since the process to the playoffs. They were completely underwhelming last year, but that's not Maxey's fault. He was in a bad situation. I think it is, and Cade was a number 1 pick. I think that is... I think it's totally reputation, man. I think that is what we are battling against with this. And maybe people think that Maxey, the last component is maybe people think this is just a hot stretch for Maxey, and it's not something that's going to be sustained for longer. But I disagree with basically all of those thoughts when we were evaluating the two individually.
Yeah, the Cade thing is a phenomenon that we often see, and I think people are going to think that I'm a Cade hater when I'm really not. I think I'm just lower on him than the consensus.
Dude, you were a Cade truther 2 years ago. Now you're his biggest enemy, man.
Literally, bro. I was defending him as everybody was saying, oh man, Cade must suck because the Pistons are putting the most horrific spacing around him that we've seen in the NBA in over a decade, and they aren't winning games like that. Like, c'est la vie, Logan. That's how it goes. But I do think that Cade is overrated right now. I mean, I don't really think there's another way to put it. I think what he does is impressive, but I also think people look at raw box score and they don't factor in some of these areas where he does struggle, and they don't factor in that Detroit is elite because of their defense. And what Cade does for their offense is huge, but he is not one of these A1 offensive players who is going to just lead them to be like a really good half-court offense.
I think the Pistons straight up would be better if they had Maxey instead of Cade. I'm not saying that to undercut what Cade's done this season, but I do think they're a better team if they have Maxey.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would be slightly better, and that's what I'm saying. Like, these guys are close. To me, it's crazy when you act like it's not close. Then I don't know what you're seeing. Maybe from either one of these guys, we'll just flat out disagree because I think Maxey is amazing, and again, I don't think that Cade is like a top 10 player right now. Like, I think a lot of people are saying that he is. I also think you got to give credit for what the Pistons have done. I mean, they actually are better in the minutes when Cade is off the floor right now in terms of net rating. Obviously, I am not saying they are a better team without him whatsoever, but they have been able to put together these ridiculous defensive groups, and so they're still like a clear positive net team. We saw them win the multiple games without him, which surprised me. I didn't expect that, but they went 3-0 in his absence. All this to say, when you're a number 1 pick, when you have the aura, when you have the look of the 6'6", big ball handler, tough shot maker, like, a lot of times people want to make it all about you, and it's actually a lot more than that, and that's what we're seeing with Detroit. And again, just to be very clear, Cade has a ton on his plate and is super impactful in what is not an easy situation offensively, but Maxey has a ton on his plate. I mean, he produces with even more offensive volume than Cade and is significantly more efficient, and Maxey, I think maybe is just underappreciated. And like you said, maybe it's people expecting, okay, this is a hot streak, but the thing is he's doing it every night, right?
I think
like
it's
not
public,
like this is 8 games now, 9 games. I literally went and compared like his first 9 games to his last 8 games, and the production and efficiency is extremely similar. The three-point shooting has come down a tick from this crazy hot start that he had, but like we said, he is proven to be a damn good catch and shooter over the years. So I don't view it that way. I think we've seen a leap. That's what I think is happening. I don't think it's some Cinderella run.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That's what I don't understand about the perception around Maxey is like, oh, he's empty stats, or I'm trying to piece together like what people do think of him. But this is a guy that 2 years ago, when the Sixers were at full health, was giving you 26 points and 6 assists per game with very low turnover numbers, and he gave you a 50-piece in the playoffs. This guy has 5 career 50-point games, man. Like, Maxey's a special player, man. I really think it is. I think it's number 1 pick syndrome. I think it's Pistons are number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I'm all in. I think that I was hoping that last year, like I can't remember when it was, I put Maxey in my top 10 point guards, and I don't think it was warranted at the time. I think you were right, because you gave me some shit for having Maxey, but my justification was I think that Maxey was going to get better, and it didn't happen.
No, that's not what it was. It wasn't for having him on your list. I had him on my list, too. I think it was the exact placement.
I had him over Trey. That's where I had him over Trey Young. You were disagreeing, and I think I was early. I was waiting for this version of Maxey to come along, and it hadn't happened yet. And, well, no, I'm just saying this is what I was waiting. I always felt like that Maxey, and you were the earliest on the Maxey train. He was your favorite one of your favorite prospects in that class, your favorite scoring prospect. But there was so much there with Maxey off ball and on ball that I felt that there was more to tap into, and I thought it was going to come a couple of years ago, and I think it has come now. And I do think this is a leap. I just think Tyrese Maxey is a special basketball player and one of the best offensive engines and offensive players in basketball right now. That's what he is.
He's got like 3 different years where you could make some most improved case for him. He won it, obviously, in 2024, but like his second year, he got way better and so much better as a shooter. And now this year, like, he obviously isn't going to win it because, when you've already been an all-star, that just doesn't happen. But I do think that he has made significant progress and is a superstar now. Like, there are so few players who can take on this sort of offensive volume with this efficiency, have this impact on team offense. So what people are going to say about Cade, I'm sure that we haven't really mentioned, is, well, Cade is clearly the better defender between the two. And that's something that I do value about Cade that I think at times actually gets underrated. That, yeah, he can offset some of his offensive limitations when we hold him up to these high standards by being like a legitimate quality defender. There's not a lot of these really good offensive guards who bring that value. I just think the offensive difference is still bigger in Maxey's favor, in my opinion.
It makes that point kind of negligible when we're talking about him against Maxey.
Yeah, that's what makes it really close. But I do think that Maxey is just the better offensive player by a significant enough margin to give him the nod. That was interesting, Logan. I wonder what the people will say about Tyrese Maxey.
It was a lot of fun, man. We should do that again. Next week, same time.
Just re-rank Tyrese Maxey? I'm going to have him number 1, I'll tell you that.
I'm down.
I got so much Maxey stock from all the way back in 2020, Logan, and it's just sitting. And every other day I have to hold myself back from quote tweeting this tweet that I already put out, screenshotting all of my early Maxey takes. And it's like, you can't do that every time. Everybody's going to hate you, and it would be deserved because that's annoying.
Unnecessary self-glaze, 15-yard penalty.
Exactly. However, what I am losing, bleeding rapidly in value in my Geno Smith plushie stock, I am gaining back quietly.
It's like being
not quietly now because I'm talking about it in Tyrese Maxey stock.
It's like being early on Bitcoin, man.
You're too much, Logan. Wow, you're just too kind. I do want to have a conversation about where a certain guard ranks next week. Not in the league today, but all time. And that's a little teaser, but we're not going to do it now because we got to get to these NFL contender rankings. So you guys probably already know the drill, but if you don't, here's how it goes. We are ranking our top 10 teams in terms of our long-term faith in their viability as contenders, not power rankings, not who is playing the best right now, who has the most wins, but who we believe in the most through that lens of making a deep playoff run, winning a Super Bowl. So, with that being said, Logan, who is in your 10 spot?
At number 10 on my list, Carson, I have your Buffalo Bills, who have fallen for me in my contender rankings. I thought about booting them for the Denver Broncos on my list because of my faith in the Denver defense, and I just think that they're a better team top to bottom than Buffalo. But the Josh Allen quotient is going to put Buffalo here for me on this list. I just couldn't leave them off. I think Denver has an elite defense, one of the best since 2000, maybe one of the best ever, man. This Denver group is special. Them in Houston this year have put together a really nice recipe, and so they would be the teams that I shout out as my first two off of my power rankings. I think their formulas are really good as regular season teams, elite defenses, but their offenses just leave a lot to be desired. And so when I look at some of these other teams that I left off too, the Niners would be a close omission for me. The Chargers would be a close omission for me as well. But even though Buffalo has some significant flaws, a special kind of playmaker in this offense, in the receiving game, the defense and their running game being inconsistent and shitty, the offensive line getting moved around by Houston the way they did on Thursday Night Football the last time we saw the Bills play. The Bills have their flags, but they also have one of the most special players in football that I just couldn't count out and leave off of this list. So the Bills are very flawed. That being said, I couldn't leave Superman Josh Allen off this list, and there's just some embedded faith that comes with a guy like Josh Allen that I just can't completely count out. So I'm underwhelmed. Damn it, I am disappointed. I want to see Buffalo put together a nice stretch of games before we get to the playoffs so I can buy into them, but that is why they are number 10.
Wouldn't that be nice? A nice stretch of games from the 2025 Bills. Hasn't quite happened yet. I do have them on my list. In my 10 spot, I do have the Broncos, and I think the people are probably going to be furious, Logan, that you left them off entirely, and they may be at your door with pitchforks on Turkey Day, and they may be trying to roast you like a turkey. And some weird part of me thinks that maybe you wouldn't be so opposed to that. But I think that we just have to acknowledge at this point how insane this defense is. We've given the stats a number of times, but number one third down, number one red zone, not just that, but like historically right in those regards. Fewest yards per play allowed since the 2015 Broncos, on pace to set a stat record. Crazy pass rush, crazy secondary. They are absolutely destructive on that side of the ball, and it lowers the bar for how good their offense has to be to win some of these games. That's why I have to include them. The defense is that amazing. That being said, when your offense is 25th in yards per drive and 23rd in points per drive, and I have major concerns about your quarterback play, it's hard for me to have them higher than this. So I don't right now. It's not about their ability to win regular season games, their ability to win one playoff game. When we talk about contending, there is a very strong trend in recent NFL history that potent offense is required to beat multiple consecutive teams that are probably going to be great offenses, that are probably going to have great quarterbacks. And I just think Denver's offense is too limited for me to have faith in them doing that. Now, it may be they get the 1 seed. It may be the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens all go out early this year. Maybe someone misses, and that can open the door for Denver to make a run here. They are absolutely a team that can make a run because of the defense, but I am going to bet on teams whose balance and offenses I like more on my list. Who's in your 9 spot, Logan? By the way, the Texans are almost to a T the same thing, where I think they're 24th in points per drive on offense, but their defense has been almost every bit as amazing as Denver's. It's been absolutely insane, and they did just beat my Bills in a totally defensively dominant fashion. But I really, really worry about that offense even a little bit more so than Denver's maybe, just because the offensive line, the run game is so rough.
Yeah, they're close. I don't know if I can even say that. I've seen teams constructed like Denver fall on their face. Their defense would have to do such a Herculean carry job. I just don't like teams that have that kind of formula. I'm retreading same tracks. I'm fascinated, Carson. I'm trying to figure out who is off your list.
You can't read me.
I can't. I don't know if it's going to be Philly. I don't know if it's going to be Indianapolis.
Philly. You think I'm you, Logan.
I don't know. They lost to the boys, man. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you something. The Cowboys aren't that far off this list for me with how they've been playing the last couple weeks. They're a few spots off, but close.
I do have Danny Dimes and the Indianapolis Colts here in my 9 spot. That would be my guess as to who you left off this list, but I don't know. Maybe it could be your boys up in Green Bay. I just think Indianapolis is a really solid two-way team. Their losses this season have been to really great teams, and then the Steelers. They lost to Kansas City, really close. OT, we're just there in that one. They lost to Los Angeles, really close in that one too, and that was such a tight game with the A.D. Mitchell stuff. Like, their flaw is their flaw. We already know what it is. This is a great team, I think, top to bottom. Offensive line, best running back in the game right now. Really great defense that has been kicked up another notch by Sauce Gardner. Their flaw is Indiana Jones. Can Daniel Jones keep it together in a big spot when teams ratchet up the pressure? We've seen him fail the test twice now. Against Pittsburgh, stonewalled the running game. They got pressure home. He crumbled. We saw it against Kansas City. Had it going early on in that game. They stopped Jonathan Taylor, slow him down, make Daniel throw the ball, and he just crumbled. So that's going to be the determinator. I've thought maybe I could omit Indianapolis. Maybe I should drop them below Denver because of my faith. But I just think Indianapolis is a better two-way team than Denver. I couldn't do it. Like, I don't really like Bo a ton. I think Daniel could – I like Daniel Jones actually more than Bo Nix, which I kind of can't believe I'm saying that. But I debated that. I still do think Indianapolis is a better two-way team. So I'm going to give them the nod, and they're going to land at number 9 on my list.
You can't read me, Logan. I've got the Colts on my list there at number 9 for me, too. Ooh, you're sitting there. You're wondering, what the hell? What's this guy's deal? You're about to find out, buddy. I am just a little bit worried that the book is out on the Colts to an extent at this point. And as we talked about after their loss last week, it's easier said than done. Oh, our top priority has to be shutting down the run game. Okay, well, good luck doing it against this great rushing attack. But we have seen this clear trend where in their wins, Jonathan Taylor is like 137 yards a game, 6.4 yards per carry on the ground. And in their losses, he's 3.8 yards per carry and like 53 rushing yards per game. And Danny Dimes has struggled in their losses. So when I talk about contenders, again, fatal flaws, particularly offensively, particularly related to the quarterback, are going to really concern me because it's not about winning one game. It's not about winning regular season games against average teams. It's about beating multiple consecutive, really good playoff opponents. And that's where, even though this Colts offense statistically is still the best in football overall this year, and they are a really good offense, they do have that flaw that concerns me just enough. And I just feel more confident that it's going to come back to bite them at some point now. Danny Dimes had a lot of great performances early in the year, and I held out on buying into the Colts for a little bit because of Danny Dimes' skepticism, but then he was looking really good, and now I think we have seen, obviously he is dramatically improved, but nevertheless still flawed to the point where I'm a little lower on them than I think the metrics would say you should be at this point, because they have had a bunch of dominant performances, but it's the losses, even if they're close, even if they're two good teams, that I do think reveal why there's some cause for concern with Indianapolis when you talk about a deep playoff run. Who is in your 8 spot, Logan?
I've got the Green Bay Packers here at my 8 spot. I'm now going to guess this is the team that you have off your list. I don't know. Man.
Whack-a-mole.
Maybe it's
He's doing
Detroit.
blindfolded whack-a-mole.
Dude, I'm volume
You're naming
shooting.
every team and you haven't even said them. This is incredible. This is incredible.
Well, I mean, Green Bay, my guess would be that you're out on this offense after they lost Tucker Kraft, the Josh Jacobs. I don't know, man. I'm throwing the kitchen sink
Sure.
at these contender rankings. I actually put Green Bay on my list because I thought about leaving them off too with their struggles recently. It's Micah Parsons. That's the reason this team is on my list. Like, I just couldn't leave a team that has that kind of disruptive defensive playmaker. I'm off. Like, I got the Bills on here because of a guy like Josh Allen. I've got Green Bay on here because of a guy like Micah Parsons. Like, he is a guy that I think can just wreck football games. And the Toyota-thon is ramping up. It ends after Week 18, so I'm a little bit nervous about Green Bay. History shows us that Jordan Love is about to crank it up a notch and be the best quarterback in football over these next 6 weeks. So I couldn't leave Green Bay off my list, and I couldn't leave a team that has Micah Parsons on their squad. Green Bay has been extremely underwhelming to me. There is a chance that some team from the NFC North misses the playoffs, I'm sorry, Chicago Bears fans. I'm going to point the finger at you, and I'm going to say that you are number one in the division right now, but you are going to miss the playoffs. So I'm going to leave the Bears as my odd man out in the NFC. And I still like Green Bay in their formula, man. I still think there is a chance for them. They have dropped basically every week for me, but I couldn't leave them outside of my top 10.
Wrong again, Logan. I have Green Bay in my 6th spot. They actually climb a little bit for me. Whoa, what is that move? That's a funky move you got there. This is going to be a ton of fun. And what would be hilarious is if, like, I just fully forgot somebody unintentionally. But hopefully I did not do that. Listen, Green Bay, I mean, they had a couple of, like, majorly concerning offensive performances back-to-back. And it is the offense that still needs to win me back a bit more, and I do worry about Tucker Kraft not coming back because I think he was clearly the best weapon in the passing game here, and the run game hasn't been the same as it was last year. Like, these are the reasons that I'm not as high on Green Bay as I was coming into the year when I thought they're my favorite in the NFC. But, honestly, they more so move up just because, like, the Bills drop in my rankings, the Colts drop in my rankings due to concerns about some teams like that, and, like, when you remove me from the ugly offensive performances and you give me some cause for hope, and, like, obviously Kraft's loss is always going to matter, but Christian Watson has actually been, like, a really meaningful addition back into the fold for them. He's been really good. Getting Jaden Reed back, like, is there enough aggregate skill here for this to be a good offense? Emmanuel Wilson getting more involved in the run game. Could he be the better option than Josh Jacobs? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I really believe in the Green Bay offense. I will say, though, they are top 8 in terms of points per drive on both sides of the ball. I do think the defense is fantastic. I think Micah Parsons is out of this world. And so, again, it's not that I'm as in on the formula as I was coming into the year, but I'm feeling a little better about the formula than I was a couple weeks ago, fresh off of them, scoring 7 points against Philly, which was really ugly. And then also, like I said, it's about the flaws of a team like the Bills, who I dropped to my number 8 spot. The reason I still have them here is because of the Josh Allen factor and the offense factor. They're still 3rd in points per drive on the year. They've still got an elite run game. They've still got a super efficient passing game overall, but there's just been too many unacceptable performances. The run defense is a disaster. Like, you have an encouraging game from the receivers, but I still need to see more out of them overall. And like you said, they lack that A1 playmaker, who's the legitimate deep threat. Getting Cade back is going to be essential for this team, but just some terrible losses. The Falcons' loss was disgusting. The Dolphins' loss was disgusting. And against the Texans, like, I think that was actually one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen in my life, what Houston did. It was absolutely incredible. They totally overwhelmed what is a very good offensive line, but that was just an untenable offensive situation for Josh, which is not to say that he played well, but he was also under duress on a vast majority of his dropbacks, and he was sacked 8 times, I believe. And just overall, like, the amount that he has been sacked this year is so much higher than it was last year. Last year, this was the offense that never took negative plays, never turned the ball over. And this year, even though, again, they're still top 3 in points per drive, they have had more turnovers. They have had more of a sack problem. The offensive line has been very good. I don't think the pass protection has been quite the same, and I don't think that Josh has been quite the same as he was last year. I don't think he has been as consistently great and meticulously efficient and in total control every week, and the run defense looks worse, so I can't take them off my list. Like, I still think they should put the fear into anybody when you see them in a playoff game, because you know what they're capable of. You know that they can drop 44 on the Bucs and they can drop 41 on the Ravens, and these explosive offensive performances we've seen from them are in there. But they are a very flawed football team and more inconsistent than they've been, I would say, since Josh broke out in 2020. I think that this is the worst regular season team that we've seen. 2023, they started 6-6. They had some bad losses. They finished 11-6. We'll see if they can pull out a similarly strong finish to this year. They're going to need something like that. And the division, for the first time since before Josh broke out in 2020, is now gone. Like, all but gone, at least, unless the Patriots slip up and the Bills literally don't lose. So that's why I dropped them in my number 8 spot.
Speaking of New England, that's who's in my 7 spot.
Same here.
I've got them here. I think that, I like New England's formula on the surface. Defense, head coach I like. really great quarterback. I mean, that's where the strength of this team is in Drake May. I wish they had some more competitive games down the stretch of this schedule so we could get a real gauge of how legit New England is. But there's really no holes I can poke in this team's case outside of the fact that they don't have some elite skill position talent. The one concerning thing for me about New England and why they could completely drop out of my top 10 is the Will Campbell injury. He's been elite for them this year at left tackle. He left last game, didn't return. If he is out, I may be ready to completely bail on New England and dump them out of my top 10. Like, that is a very meaningful loss for them. Their offensive line has played really well. So I could see Denver sneaking into my top 10 if he's out for the rest of this season. But it looks like New England is going to end up as the number 1 seed. That is going to give them a bye, home field advantage. That's pretty massive to me when I'm looking at them in the rankings. It's not going to make their round 2 matchup any easier. Like, there is a pretty big chance that they could end up with a big whammy. You know, one of these low-seeded teams, you run into a Kansas City, a Buffalo, a Baltimore even, potentially in the second round. That's where things would get dicey for them. But I got to show for some respect. Like, they've just handled business every step of the way. They haven't dropped against any of these bum-ass teams except the Steelers. Like, New England's handled business every step of the way. I can't really see them climbing any higher than number 7 for me the rest of the way. But they're going to end up as a number 1 seed, man. The fact that they could just sleepwalk to the divisional round is a pretty big deal to me.
Well, I mean, they do still have to beat the Bills and the Ravens. Those are the 2 tough games. Everything else for them is cupcake, as it has been throughout this year. They got a really easy schedule. But they've also won their most important tough games, right? Against the Bills, against the Bucs, and they've won 9 straight. So I do have the Patriots at number 7, 1 spot higher than the Bills, and the reason for that is that they don't ever crap themselves on the field. That's what it comes down to. You know, I think the Bills' ceiling is higher, sure, because of what that offense can do, but the Patriots don't have any of these, like, what the fuck happened kind of losses. They just consistently go out there and at least take care of business, and Drake May is amazing. I do worry about the Will Campbell injury a lot, and he's on IR, so he's coming back week 18 at earliest. And I agree with you. If he doesn't ever come back, I mean, I'm really worried about this offensive line because I already don't think this offensive line is good, and that's where lack of an A1 playmaker in this offense overall, some of the run game issues they've had, like, that's why I've held out on having the Patriots above the Bills for as long as I have. But right now, it's more so a Bills thing dropping them and the Patriots just being consistent and May elevating this offense and then being a legitimately good defense and being well coached. They have earned this. But I do still think the teams above them are just ultimately more talented and have higher ceilings because of that. So I do keep them at 7. At 6, I have Green Bay. I already revealed that. Who's in your 6th spot, Logan?
I have the Philadelphia Eagles here. The Eagles are below 3 teams that they have defeated this season for me, so I get the redundancy. Like, people.
Let's get some Molotov cocktails going at Logan Camden's house, Philly fans. Can we get that?
I have them below Detroit. I have them below the Rams. I have them below Kansas City. That is how I feel about Philly. I felt like this game against Dallas was looming. I will give them credit for winning games against other really competitive teams. I just don't like Philly's formula. I've been pretty clear about that. I think this is a team with a bad offense and a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that I really don't like. The running game has been anemic for most of this year, too. Like, the offense just does not strike fear into me at all. Philadelphia is so talented. I think they have one of the highest floors in football. They are so good at keeping games close, the defense balling out, limiting turnovers. I respect that. But I think this is a team with a very low ceiling, and for that is why they are here at number 6 for me.
It's tough to say that with Philly, isn't it? Because they just had such a dominant Super Bowl run and such a dominant season. And I get what you're saying because, like, there comes a point where expecting the same results without things changing, you know,
exactly.
It's insane to do. And that's what we're seeing from Philly right now, where this is an offense that is 26th in yards per drive. They're 21st in points per drive. Like,
and
they
I understand.
haven't been a good offense at all this year.
I understand people betting on Philly because you've seen it before. It's like it's like me betting on the Chiefs. I haven't seen it with the Chiefs this year, and yet I'm betting on Mahomes and I'm rolling. So I understand if people are...
but at least, like, the Chiefs actually, by a lot of, like, point differential, stuff like that, like we said, they are a significantly better team than they were last year when they were 15-1 before they sat everybody. And, like, that offense has been great, both statistically and just in terms of watching the games. Like, Philly has this theoretical potential because of their talent, but when they don't tap into it and we're 11 games deep, that is obviously a significant cause for concern. That being said, the defensive performance that we saw from them back-to-back against Detroit and Green Bay were so utterly dominant that even though, a game like what just happened against Dallas is probably looming, where they can't get enough stops against a really good offense, and their offense goes completely ice cold for the last 7 drives of that game, and they're going to lose. Philly is far from infallible. They are far from infallible. They have a big flaw, but if you're looking at where I have Denver and where I have Philly, and you're saying, how does that compute when on paper, the resumes are so similar. In fact, Denver actually has had the better defense this year. Both these offenses are super flawed. The reason is I think that Philly's offense does still have more upside. And even though we haven't seen it this year, and I'm not saying I think it's likely that it comes around, the defense is still good enough for me to justify having them above the Lions, who
and
I do
Denver
have one
beat
spot
Philly
below them.
a bit this year.
Denver did beat Philly. But man, that defense, it just looked like the 2024 Eagles for 2 of the last 3 weeks. And so that's where I do have enough faith in them. I'm still not the big Philly believer. The offensive concerns are very, very real. But I do have Detroit at number 5. I think this team is still stacked with so many superstars. I think they've got a great offense, a good defense, and they're too talented to be lower than this on my list. But I do worry a little bit about putting Goff in a position where he has to carry the offense. And I don't want to overstate the importance of the head-to-head between them and Philly. But again, that level of defensive dominance that the Eagles can reach with offensive talent, at least, I'm just a little bit more confident betting on that than Detroit. But I do still think, Detroit's just got too many good players, too many great players to be lower than this, even though they've got 4 losses on the year.
Yeah, I've got Detroit at 4. I think their big thing is just what Goff can give them. The thing to monitor, I think, the rest of this season is the performance of the offensive line. Graham Glasgow is injured and has not been good this season. Frank Ragnow, who was a Pro Bowler and All-Pro second team last year, is unretiring to come back to Detroit. So, he's not the only loss that they had from last year. Kevin Zeitler also moved on. So
yeah, but he's a huge loss.
Both were huge losses. So that's really interesting. The offensive line hasn't been as dominant this season. If Ragnow comes back and looks like he did, the guy was a perennial Pro Bowler, one of the best centers in the league. So that could be a big upgrade for Detroit. I still think their flaw is their flaw. Is Jared Goff going to crap his pants in a big spot? But I fundamentally agree with you. This team is too talented on both sides of the field for me to have them any lower. They come in at number 4 for me.
Logan, I'm not going to lie to it. I tried to play it cool there and be a cool customer like I'm known to be, sort of a nonchalant, cool guy. I hadn't seen that. This just happened half an hour ago as of our recording. So you, with your finger on the pulse always, were aware of that Frank Ragnow news. That almost makes me want to move Detroit 1 spot higher. Just because I think Ragnow is really, really damn good. And then it's now let me talk myself into the inverse, where actually I do believe in Detroit's offense so much, and that defense is good enough. I guess I'll hold things pat as they are for now. That's really close, though. And, a lot of these are really close. That's kind of the thing. I think there's one team that is actually separated for me from the pack right now, and then 2 through fucking 13, go wherever you want to go. It's the season of mid in the NFL. That's kind of the reality. All these teams have flaws. All these teams have good stuff. Okay, so you have Detroit at 4. Your 5 spot is still open.
I've got Kansas City at 5. The reason Kansas City can't be higher for
Am
me
I taking crazy pills here? How are our lists so out of balance? This is going to be really interesting. But sorry, go ahead. I'm just wondering if I'm taking crazy pills over here.
Maybe I'm taking the crazy pills. I don't know, man.
I think I'm taking the crazy pills. You don't have the Browns top 3 because of Shedeur? Just because of Shedeur?
No, not a shot.
Oh, I was just asking, just because Shedeur.
I think I know who you're missing now. I think I do.
I think I do. I've been thinking the whole time, but I just can't believe how high you have this team if it's who I think it is.
Yeah, I think that's it. Number 5, I have the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs are better than their record indicates. That being said, there's a chance the Chiefs could miss the playoffs. And so because of that, they are just at number 5. I think if I was just ranking them on raw ability, I think they would be above Detroit. No. I think they're in the right spot. Nope. Actually, never mind. The Chiefs are where they belong. I actually just like the Lions' talent top to bottom more than them. The Mahomes factor makes it interesting because obviously I just prefer Mahomes so much to Goff, but it's about balanced. I'll take Detroit's talent top to bottom over Kansas City, so they end up in my 5 spot.
That's fair. I still have the Chiefs higher in my number 3 spot. I understand what you're saying about the circumstances and like the potential for them missing the playoffs. I'm not factoring that in as much as just how good do I think you are. And I do think that the Chiefs are really good. I mean, they are 2nd in points per drive scored. They're 7th in points per drive allowed. I think the defense, huge performance against the Colts. That was elite stuff that we saw out of them. And they've been overall trending in the right direction. And I think this passing attack is super potent. And the run game has its limitations. We talk about this crazy low explosive run rate, but even the run game, they had a good performance this past week against the Colts. I understand what their flaws are, and some of the key components here haven't been the same this year. We've talked about Spags. We've talked about Andy Reid. Obviously, Kelsey has regressed. Chris Jones, on the whole, hasn't been the same this year. And yet, I do still think this is a pretty good defense and a great passing attack and a great offense overall. And I just think they're more balanced than any of the other teams in the AFC, at least. I have more confidence. The Bills' fatal flaw, that run defense, super concerning to me. And even the Bills' offense has had some inconsistencies, with the Chiefs' offense has too. But that defensive difference is real to me. The Broncos, their offense, I'm super concerned about. The Colts, it's the Daniel Jones factor that we talked about, if you can keep the run game in check. The Pats, I just don't know if they're talented enough. So kind of by default, I still wind up with the Chiefs being my favorite in the conference, even understanding that they have their own issues. They haven't been good in close games, but I do think there's a little bit of a luck and a variance factor there that, they're just having to pay back because they had some really good luck and execution there last year, and this year they've had some really bad luck and execution, but they finally got one that they desperately needed, a good win against a good team. So I'm going to still bank on the things that I've mostly been banking on with them. Who is in your 3 spot, Logan?
Who's in your 4 spot?
My 4 spot is the Eagles.
Philly is there for you. Okay. I have got the Baltimore Ravens here.
Wow!
In my 3 spot. Yeah.
I've been waiting for it.
I'm back in on Baltimore. I think they are just going to coast to this division. The Steelers are a known bad football team. I'm not going to lie, the Ravens have been underwhelming to me thus far, but I look in the AFC and who the hell hasn't? So I think Baltimore's just going to be my favorite out of the AFC this year, man. There's nobody that really...
Wow.
I don't know. I guess I could see Mahomes. I don't know what the hell is going to happen in the AFC, man. It is just flip a coin, pull a card out of a deck, dude. I'm lost. Baltimore, I feel is the best bet. They've been underwhelming over the last 3-4 weeks, even when Lamar's been back. But the defense to me has looked better. They haven't played the toughest competition, but they're allowing 14 points per game over the last 6 weeks or so. At least the defense has been better. And then I'm just betting on Lamar. This is kind of an embedded faith argument that I am making with Baltimore here. And when I look at some of these other teams in the AFC, Denver doesn't strike fear into me. The Baltimore Ravens do. Indianapolis doesn't strike fear into me. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens do. And so I don't think they have as significant as flaws as Buffalo does. Them versus Kansas City was a debate for me. And when I compare the two, I think Baltimore has a clearer chance of getting to the playoffs than Kansas City. I don't know, man. I don't like this argument either. I don't like having the Ravens this high, but nobody else in the AFC scares me the way that Lamar does. So, and with Kansas City having the potential to miss the playoffs, I'll take Baltimore.
Logan Camden, is that breaking news? Are you saying you think Lamar is the best quarterback in the NFL? Nobody in the AFC scares you like Lamar?
No, there are 2 teams with a better record than Kansas City in their own division, and I just think Baltimore has a much clearer path to the playoffs and going on a run right now than Kansas City. So that's why Baltimore is there.
Okay, I was just trying to clarify your nobody scares me more than Lamar comment. I just thought maybe you were breaking news on Nerd Sesh. It would have been really weird.
The Chiefs are
Lamar hasn't even been good as of late.
No, the current playoff picture is the Chiefs would miss and Baltimore would be in, so that's what I'm going off of.
This is like the biggest reversal of all time, dude. Me coming into the year as the Ravens #1 in my contender rankings. Me, when the Ravens were 1-5, still saying, Logan, I think they're going to win the division. You telling me no chance. I'm saying, look at the schedule. The Steelers aren't good. There's a very real chance this happens. Now we're here and like it seems very likely it's going to happen. And you have totally flipped and you're all in on Baltimore. And I'm like not impressed. Because it's so obvious that they were going to win these games, you know? Like, no shit, they're going to beat the Dolphins, the Vikings with 9, the Browns,
I just can't believe you have them, like, below Buffalo or, like, below... Dude, that's where I'm surprised.
I don't think the Ravens have looked good almost once this entire season. Like, straight up. I think that they have lost to almost all of the good teams that they've played. They have lost to all the good teams they've played when Lamar is on the field. They beat the Bears with Snoop Huntley, and shout out that. And then, like, you mentioned the defensive stuff. We'll see. They've been forcing more turnovers, but they have also faced, since Lamar returned, the number 24 ranked offense in Miami, the number 25 ranked offense in Minnesota, the number 29 ranked offense in Cleveland, and the number 26 ranked offense in the Jets. Like, they've been playing bottom feeders. And they're not, like, dominating these games whatsoever. The last 3 have all been like reasonably close where these teams are hanging around into the second half, and Lamar has not looked very good. Derrick Henry hasn't looked the same this year. This defense still hasn't looked like they did down the stretch. So I understand the talent bet that you're making, but what I would say is like versus Kansas City, I mean, they've shown me a lot more elite football. Buffalo, the flaws for sure. They've shown me more elite offensive football. They've had more like actual big quality wins. Baltimore right now to me is just cruising through the easiest stretch of schedule ever. And they're not cruising in the sense that they're dominating or doing anything impressive. They're just kind of limping by. I don't know. I actually moved them down in my rankings. I had them in my top 10 2 weeks ago, and I just feel like these have been ugly performances from them. And winning ugly against shitty teams isn't going to move me. So I do agree that they're going to be in the playoffs, and they absolutely have the potential to work their way back higher in my list because they're a talented football team, but just nothing has looked the same for them. So, yeah, like what Denver's done, dude, I just couldn't have Baltimore above them. Baltimore hasn't done anything as impressive as what Denver did versus Kansas City.
That's the essential
Philly.
Point of contender rankings. Who's going to be the best when it comes for playoff time?
I know, and I'm saying Baltimore hasn't shown me anything to say that's more impressive than Kansas City or Buffalo, these teams that may be flawed, but they also have that factor of playoff faith of elite quarterback play, potent offenses. And I think their quarterbacks, even though neither is having their best season, especially Josh, I still think they've been better than Lamar this year. Like,
I know what the Ravens are, and the Ravens should be feared when it comes playoff time.
But you don't know what the Chiefs or the Bills, the teams that have way more playoff wins than the Ravens are in recent memory?
This is so funny to me that we are doing this on these sides of the argument. Like, this is actually hilarious. I am always playing you, and you are always playing me.
We're doing role-playing right now, live on the podcast.
We literally are. All I will say, this team sucked through Week 11 last year defensively, turned it around. Carson, I don't agree with any of the points you're making. I don't think the Ravens have looked dominant. But what I will say is Lamar was not healthy for the midpoint of this season. I know what Lamar Jackson is. I know how special he is. He is one of the 3 best quarterbacks on planet Earth. And despite his playoff struggles, which I have been very critical of, he is a guy that would still strike fear into me during the playoffs. And over these last 6 weeks, the Ravens defense has notched 12 sacks, 11 turnovers, and they've allowed 14 points per game. So it's like Lamar is getting healthy. The defense is figuring it out. Baltimore's going to coast to this division title. And the Chiefs and Bills have also looked shitty. So it's like I'm not trying to make like that the Ravens are the juggernaut that we expected them to be coming into this season. But what I am saying is in a very, very, very a significantly flawed AFC, the Ravens are my favorite.
Here's what I think is happening. I think in the season of mid, you are punishing the teams like the Chiefs, like the Bills. And I would have those teams almost in 2 different categories, even though the Chiefs have 1 more loss. I think they've looked better than the Bills this year, right? They don't have those sort of like ugly what the fuck losses. Their losses have been close into good teams. But anyways, these teams that have underwhelmed And I think you are punishing them more than the Ravens because the Ravens have the momentum in terms of wins. They have the excuse of Lamar being hurt for a time, and they have the fact that, like, you've literally seen less of them at full strength. So because everybody has been underwhelming this year, I think you're saying, I've seen the least of the Ravens, and so here they are. They get more of the benefit of the doubt. Whereas I feel like what we've seen from the Ravens has been the worst out of any of these teams.
I'm also factoring in the component that both the Bills and the Chiefs could just miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens aren't going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think I factor that into my rankings as much. I do see that point of they are going to host a playoff game in all likelihood, and even though I think the Bills and the Chiefs will both make it, it's quite unlikely that either one of them wins their division. I mean, it's almost impossible for the Chiefs, and it's highly unlikely for the Bills. So I get that, but again, when it just comes to the football that has been played,
I still think I prefer the Ravens' defense to the Bills and the Chiefs as well.
I prefer the Ravens defense to the Bills, but I prefer the Bills offense to the Ravens based on what we've seen so far this year. I think the Chiefs defense has been better than the Ravens this year. So you can look at the talent on paper for the Ravens, but these things can change so fast year to year. It's like at some point you got to really show me. So this is hilarious that we are in these inverse spots where I was the ultimate projectionist with the Ravens. Wait, things are going to work out. And now, like, it seems like things are working out because they're winning games. But again, when I'm watching, I am so deeply unimpressed that I am not moved by Baltimore. And I do think there are 10 better teams than them right now. So I leave them off. You have them at number 3. That's crazy, man. That was just a big old reveal hanging over my head. I kept waiting because I was thinking it's got to be Baltimore where we're splitting. That's crazy. All right. Who is in your 2 spot, Logan?
I think both of these teams are the best team in football right now. So I have like a number 1 because of the head-to-head battle. I gave the nod to the Rams because they earned it, but I've got Seattle at 2, Rams at 1, and I have basically the deciding factors for me. The Rams won the head-to-head battle, and Matt Stafford is playing like the best quarterback in football right now. But I think these are the 2 best teams in football, and there's very, very little separation between both of them. I think the Stafford component and how much better that offense is than Seattle is kind of balanced out by the fact that I think this Seattle defense in totality is better. But when I look at the best players on both of the rosters, Stafford, I prefer at quarterback, and I think Jared Verse is the best defensive player out of both of these teams. And so I very marginally give the edge to the Rams and, like I said, the head-to-head component. But I could not be closer between both of these teams, man. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are so close to one another. And I'm sorry, Los Angeles, if the Rams come out and drop a dud next, it's on me. I didn't want to do this to you guys. I wanted to put the Chiefs back at number 1 and hope they just just keep losing every week. But unfortunately, my list has to have some sort of integrity, and I really don't want to get the Rams with my bad juju, man.
Yeah, no, I hope that it doesn't get them because I love the Rams, but I'm glad that you did the honorable thing, Logan, and you ranked the teams like you actually felt instead of trying to do some sort of voodoo magic to just continually curse the Chiefs or whoever else. I have the Seahawks at 2. I have the Rams at 1. I actually think that there is a gap here. And the Seahawks are phenomenal. They are a great defensive team all across the board, and they are a really good offense and a great passing attack. I just think the concern I have about Sam Darnold against an elite defense, against a tricky defense that can do a good job of confusing him, simulating pressures, muddying the picture, there is a potential for a letdown disaster game with him that concerns me enough to say the Rams are clearly my number 1 because the Rams are just the team with no holes right now. I mean, they are an elite pass rush. They're an elite defense. They've been great against the run. The secondary has considerably improved. That would be the one thing you would point out, but I just think this defense has been so elite for so long now. That would be like some major nitpicking compared to these other concerns that make themselves readily available with all these other teams. And then offensively, they run the ball well. They've got a good offensive line. They've got elite playmakers in the passing game, and Matt Stafford is fantastic, and they're brilliantly coached. Like, they just run through people. I mean, they just crush a lot of these mediocre teams. And we've talked about, like, even their couple of losses were last second two other really good teams. Nobody is more consistent. Nobody is more complete. There's nobody I trust more. It's really not close. Like, I view the Rams as my significant favorite now. In the season of mid, they are the team that has risen above and legitimately excelled, and I want to give them their credit for that. So I do have the Rams as a clear number one. I got one more Ravens thing, Logan. And maybe you can say, okay, well, some of these stats are affected by the fact that they were without Lamar for 3 games. And okay, fair enough. But the Bills and Chiefs do both rank higher than the Ravens in points per drive on both sides of the ball. I mean, Chiefs are second in points per drive on offense. Bills are third. Chiefs are 7th in points per drive allowed on defense. Bills are 17th. Again, I think the Ravens defense is better than the Bills. But the Ravens defense is 19th in points allowed per drive, and their offense is only 12th in points per drive. So, been a lot of mediocre football. But we say this is the season of mid, so we will agree to disagree on Baltimore. I think we covered that one sufficiently enough. And we hope we covered everything sufficiently enough for you guys on this episode. Another 2 hours of Nerd Sesh yap. If you're saying, hold on, this isn't enough, go ahead and watch our 3-hour mailbag episode from last week, or prepare your mind and body and soul for an upcoming guest appearance we have on Hoops Tonight with Jason Timp. I'm spoiling it. Friday, you guys will see a show with us over on his channel. We already recorded that, but we will not have our own Friday show. We hope that all of you guys enjoy Thanksgiving and have a wonderful time and eat lots of cranberry sauce and pumpkin mashed pumpkin.
Stick to the collard greens and the stuffing and the turkey, man. We don't need no cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce and mashed up little baby peas. And you probably just shouldn't eat anything too solid, just because I know that you have a sensitive digestive system, and it's probably easier if we just get things going down there a little bit more puree style. No?
What kind of Thanksgiving do you be going to, man?
Mostly with infants. It's
I was
mostly
gonna
me
say,
and my
gotta be
buddies
like
Carl.
an old folks' home where ain't nobody got teeth.
No, it's me and my buddies Carl, Jerry, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of infants.
Big toothless crew.
Well, they have their baby teeth, Logan. They're not toothless.
So what's your role in all this? Like you're babysitting them, or you're just hanging out?
What? I'm one of the guys, dude. What's my role? I mean, I tend to bring the poker chips and the cards.
Type.
Yeah.
You
Sometimes
win a lot.
Some cigars. I've never won. These guys are fucking whiz kids, Logan. They're unbelievable.
Sounds like it, man.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the rules is the first problem. And if one of them eats any of the cards, that's an automatic win. That is the one rule that I do know. So, yeah, that's tough, man. But that's going to be my Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys all have Thanksgivings that are almost as cool as that, almost as lovely as that. And we will see you guys on Sunday night. And we will see you guys every day with our viral social media content. So, you know, we never, ever, 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 not even for a second, Logan, take a break there. So you know where to find us all across social, TikTok, Instagram, at Nerd Sesh, to see all of our trivia content, clips from the show, graphics from the show, all that good stuff. And you know where to find our full episodes. I hope YouTube. You can find all of our full shows, NBA and NFL. You can find our video essays, video breakdowns that we do on the NBA. This is the 1 week that I'm taking off, but I have been on my one-a-week grind with those, and I hope you guys have enjoyed them. I've certainly enjoyed making them. And you can listen to the show across all audio platforms. And if you want, you can join our Discord, and you can be part of our community over there as well. So, with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving to all of those who celebrate. If you are Canadian, then I wish you a late happy Thanksgiving. And if you are just a citizen of the world, just fucking keep on doing your thing, man. Just fucking keep on doing it, man. And with that, as always, I've been Carson Breber.
Inspirational. I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.